welcome to Istanbul. It's the final stage of the 6 stages making up this, the 53rd running of the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey. We're starting off at the Formula One Istanbul Park circuit. In fact, they've rolled out of that. We have 4 riders up the road, but it's all about the destination today. Up into the Old Town, in fact, a beautiful square between the two major mosques that look out over the Bosphorus and the divide between, of course, Europe and Asia. This is where it all comes together. It's come together as well for Ulissi. In fact, he leads by 12 seconds ahead of Jesper Hansen. And I think for those guys, it's highly unlikely that Ulissi will make any errors today. Bit of a kick at the end as we get up to the Old Town, about 7%, but it doesn't last that long. And so it should be the sprinters that duke it out. But you've got to be have a good track sense about you, because the final is quite spiteful. Here are the little loops that we do around the great city, and a great city it most certainly is. In fact, when we make the cut back along the coast road here, it's also very, very beautiful. And the drama will all be at the very end, you might think. Well, we might have some in the meantime. So skirting all around down to the coast, little loop back on ourselves on the highway before we turn up into the Old Town, and that's where that nasty kick comes, and that's where we'll crown our champion. So a longish day, you might think, 144 kilometres, an early start, that's for sure. It's actually one of the shorter days on this great race. We've had two stages of over 200 kilometres, which were quite wearing. This man has sustained it extremely well. Ulissi was always the race favourite, expected to take the lead on the run up to Selçuk on stage 4, and that's exactly what he did. Not that this race is overly predictable. In fact, Sam Bennett, best man here, but for him to perform on such a regular basis on all kinds of inclines has been something to behold. Not just an out-and-out pure sprinter, but somebody who can get over some lumps and bumps as well, and he proved that to Izmir yesterday, and indeed also he proved it in the run to Marmaris. Both days he won. In fact, today he's going for his 5th stage win out of 6. He faded to over 14 minutes down on Ulissi in stage 4, and that's the reason why he's not wearing the turquoise jersey, but he did wear it for the first 3 days. And just pondering what life holds for him. Well, we'll see. King of the Mountains jersey, by the way, has now been awarded. Out on road, we had a 4-man breakaway, just 1 categorised climb today. So as we left the Istanbul Park circuit, one of Bernie Ecclestone's favourites, Formula One racing, of course, here at this great arena. Not exactly a sellout for the start here, as you can see, but plenty of crowds in the beautiful square between the two mosques at the finish today. So once we passed by the official start, we got the wave and the whistle, and it wasn't long before we had ourselves a breakaway that established itself out there in smart order. So the man with the lollipop and the whistle did his job. And indeed, so did our breakaway. Always going to be somebody from the Turkish national team. In fact, this trio that went off actually at the whistle were joined by one other to form a quartet. Mohamed Atalay, it is, for the Turkish national team. It is Patrick Stoisch, who also got over there. Simone Sterbini. And I've got to tell you that Thomas Deruet is also there. I'm sorry we've been calling him Thomas de Ruyter. We assumed he was from the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. But no, he's from the French side. And Thomas Deruet is our man. I'll get there in the end. Deruet. Thanks to Josie Bien for her pronunciation help. So there he is, Deruet. And in fact, we had our King of the Mountains. We had our King of the Mountains man up the road, and in fact it's Paolo Simeone, I beg your pardon, not Simone. I'm missing my Simeone and my Simone, but there we are. So Bardiani in the break, so a Veyron Classic, so a CC Sprandi, so a Turkish national team. And so we go to Brian Smith for his thoughts on that King of the Mountains jersey competition.
Yes, indeed. Yesterday, a big effort on the final climb of the day by Mikko Maestri. He was also on the attack in the last couple of kilometres. And there was only one way he was going to lose that jersey today, and that's if Chilano of Kaharuhau got himself in the breakaway today and took the 2 points at the top of the only climb of the day, fourth category climb. And Mikko Maestri never got that single point for his second place, which would have meant that Chilano would have won that competition, courtesy of winning the first category climb a couple of days ago. But as we can see, Bardiani right in there from the start. They wanted to put a rider in the breakaway, and they did with Paolo Simeon, and 4 riders went down the road. They were the first riders to attack. Kind of surprised that Chilano never even tried, but I think he really suffered in that final climb yesterday, and for sure the King of the Mountains competition is over, and it will go back to Italy.
And it looks like the winner of this race will be, as predicted at the beginning, Diego Ulissi. As you can see there, his teammate here, Federico Zerlo, who I presume they'll be working for a little bit later on. Both he and Marco Comfort involved in a crash and hasn't really been up there. Simone Consoni as well is a man who could take a ramp, and in fact finished third behind Bennett yesterday for the United Arab Emirates. Orkan also takes a ramp, and in fact he'll be hyper motivated today, just missing out yesterday to Sam Bennett. Ahmed Orkan of the Turkish national team should be there. What about Edward Turns? Well, yesterday, frankly, once it was a bit of a mess, wasn't it, Brian, for Trek Segafredo. They dropped, to be fair, they dropped Turns off perfectly on 3 occasions. They stalled a bit yesterday, but it still didn't work for him, I'm afraid. He could not beat Bennett, and in fact got edged by both Orkan and Consoni yesterday.
Well, the first 3 stages they've had a perfect lead out. Yesterday I don't know what they were doing. They got it kind of all wrong.
I think we're distracted by the nut seller.
Exactly, and you know, obviously Bennett had a lot to do, and you know, he was coming up on the barrier side, squeezed past, and then pushed Albanese out the way to go through a gap. In some races, you know, the commissaires would look at that and maybe take action, but he was trying to go through gaps, pushing Albanese out the way, got himself onto the Trek train. It was a bit of a headwind sprint, so the legs were tired, so it was kind of a really difficult sprint, but you have to say that Trek Segafredo got that one wrong, never really helped, and you could see that when he crossed the finishing line, Edouard Tons really wasn't happy. On the reverse of that, this man here, number 1, putting his arm round his Samley, who kind of helped him out yesterday in the run into to Izmir, just a pat in the back. That man on the left hand side was punching air with delight, and anybody would have thought that he had won that stage. But just to tell you about the situation with Trek Segafredo when we're talking about it, Carlton, we've seen Zerlo there. Zerlo was the person that crashed in the exit of the Vestel area, and Alfaci actually crashed on top of him, but he fractured 2 ribs and contusion to his lung as well, so that was quite a bad fall. And I can only think that when we thought that Zerlo was down first, he crashed on top of him. He must have landed maybe in the handlebars.
Just as I said. Yeah, didn't look nice, and so it proved to be. Eugenio Alfaci, he went down, stayed down. We called it his ribs at the time. The replay didn't show it, but yeah, he must have hit something mechanical. We think the bars got where they shouldn't. 2 broken ribs is not nice. I've had 3 myself in one incident, and I can tell you, the only thing you can do is rest. They used to strap you up, your torso, but it affected breathing and used to give people other complications. So these days, they just tell you to get on with it, but rest. It's not a nice thing, a broken rib. You must have had some, Brian.
Touch wood, I've never had any broken ribs. No.
Really? You wouldn't like it? Don't go there. I asked Brian if he ever goes skiing today. He said, no, don't want any breaks. Fair enough. Just under 90, just under 100 Ks, I should say, at 98 remaining today. Still a long way to go. We've been blessed by absolutely beautiful weather. It's not been too hot. It's been nice and warm. In fact, our hottest day was the third stage into Marmaris, where it nudged up to 32 Celsius. It's gorgeous, and it's a lovely country, and extraordinarily welcoming. And as the whole world seems to be in turmoil slightly at the moment, and it's been an extremely peaceful and wonderfully run event, as always, the Presidential Tour. I've got a feeling that next year we may well have more World Tour teams decide that, you know what, it looks absolutely super, let's go for it. I think we'll get more next year.
I think so, and I think that obviously new organisers, they've taken the last kind of couple of years, they've taken some constructive criticism on board. They'll try and make it a little bit better next year, especially showing some of the sites of Turkey, including Ephesus, which they skirted over. But I think it's been a good race. Okay, we've got two men that stand head and shoulder above everybody else, one being the Irishman Sam Bennett, winning 4 stages, and Diego Alesi winning the overall, and that's what he came to do. Sam Bennett came to win stages, and I think today is another potential for Sam Bennett. This is kind of new territory for the final stage. Normally we go over the Bosphorus Bridge and we do some loops. Sometimes we do loops around Istanbul, but we're starting in the Istanbul, the Formula 1 Istanbul Park. We've done a big loop round, so a bit of a different parcours for the final stage, but still the same finish as Mas won from Caja Rural a couple of years ago, beating Mark Cavendish. If we can remember that we came on to the climb, he attacked on that climb. Mark Renshaw was trying to obviously help Mark Cavendish. Mark Renshaw just pulled over and allowed Mark Cavendish to try and win the stage. Unfortunately, he just sat back and thought, well, I'm not going to chase him back, and Mas won that stage, and Mark Cavendish was second on that occasion. So it does suit the likes of Sam Bennett. He's ridden well before in stages that finish with small climbs towards the end.
Yeah, so let's see how he goes. I think he'll go extremely well and make it 5 out of 6, but you can never be sure, especially with the twisty old roads up to that beautiful square between the two mosques. Welcome back. Stosh just heading back to his team car for a brief chat. Just 23 years of age is our friend from Poland, and the CCC squad. See all the orange wheels up there. No spare bikes on this particular car, as you can see, so let's hope he doesn't need one. I doubt it today. It's not the most complicated parkour. There's some rises and falls, Brian, but you can't describe them as more than that until we get to that kick at the end.
Yeah, they're not pushed for space in this road. 4 lanes wide, and
yeah,
nice and easy to control the race. The best placed of these riders is in fact the rider from Poland, Stoisz, in the orange at the back, 12 minutes and 2 seconds off the overall lead. So no real danger for Alesi of UAE. They did a very good job yesterday all the way to the end, keeping him safe. And they'll have to keep him safe today. Okay, this final climb, if anything was to happen, mechanical or puncture or anything like that, would be given the same time. But given the same time as what? Because I do reckon that, or I'm pretty much guaranteed that this race will break up in this final climb. It's on a short, sharp climb, but it will definitely break up, and there will be gaps. So the job is not completely done for UAE and Diego Alesi, but it looks as if he's got, a big, massive shoe in for this one this year. But stage went up for grabs, and obviously what's the breakaway are trying to do is obviously look towards the the publicity, getting a breakaway, and think about that stage. But I think Shane Archibald here with the mullet, the flying mullet, will have a lot to say about that, and they'll want to try and help Sam Bennett. But Pantano, he was on the attack yesterday. He's another rider that could possibly skip up that last climb and hang on towards the finish. But I think that's what they're talking about. Shane probably saying to him, "Are you going to attack us in the end?" And he's going, "Yes, of course I'm going to attack him, because Trek Segafredo desperately want a stage win.
I like this sort of banter. It's very much an end-of-term feel about it, to be honest. Here you are. It's amazing, actually. You have
he's pulling his
hair. He's going to do a haircut right now. He knows the camera's there. It does look a bit strange to me, to be honest. To be honest, that amount of head fungus. That's all I'm going to call it. It doesn't look the best condition, but anyway, he loves it, and it seems as well. Is he on the move, Shane Archbold, next year?
Yeah, he's on the move at the moment, but he's going over, I think, to Aqua Blue Sports.
Aqua Blue.
Yeah, maybe trying to entice this man, possibly in the future, to join him. His friend.
Wouldn't surprise me. They're big mates, and if Sam Bennett has badged himself up, it might be a nice fat contract at Aqua Blue for Sam Bennett. Waiting, we'll see whether Borough are minded to hold on to him. Still some
Ed Toyne's hiding.
Still some from the cameras. Still plenty, of course, of negotiation at the end of the season to be had. Not all contracts have been fully signed up yet, so teams not fully aware of their roster for next year. And you get some very late decisions, can't you, Brian, as to riders, right up to the last moment.
Yeah, obviously the big thing with a lot of teams is the fact that they don't have a lot of money, and wage bills go up pretty much every year, and you can get some bargains towards the end of the year, and a lot of teams play the waiting game and get some bargains towards the end, because a lot of riders' agents are kind of holding out for that big contract.
When's the cut-off?
For next year?
Yep.
I think it's the 31st of December. But you can still, if the person's out of contract, you can still
get dispensation.
You can still take them on board, like we did with MTN in the past with Matt Bramier. We signed them up in January. So, but I think most of the pro bike riders want to be signed up with a team already.
Well, naturally, we've got to think about their future. And the numbers are going to be diminished next year, Brian, because they're allowing teams to trim down the roster. In fact, Grand Tour is going to feature 8 riders, not 9.
Yes, and I think that will have an effect. I think the UCI are pretty much just looking for safety more than anything, but it will have an effect, I think, in a lot of the kind of younger riders. And I think we'll see some of the riders, some good riders dropping down to second division, pro continental level.
It might actually spread the love a little bit to some of the smaller events. You're going to find some very, very prominent names dropping into pro continental teams, and as a result, I think it'll enliven some other races. That's a good thing. The bad news is for youngsters who are coming onto the scene right now. Suddenly the rosters have been shortened. Teams don't need quite so many riders. It's economically it helps out cycling teams, but what it does, Brian, is it makes team positions more of a rarity, and indeed the pool of names that we've already got are going to have trouble finding a home for themselves, and as a result, I think. You might have a spread of quality, but the new riders coming through are going to find it difficult.
The cream will rise to the top. It's as simple as that. With smaller teams, the teams will just be looking at taking the best riders, and a form of elitism, you could say. But then again, the pro continental second division teams will have better riders, and possibly they'll be stronger, which in the end, when they come to riding some of the Pro Tour events through wildcard entries, the quality of the field probably throughout is probably stronger. So it's got its ups and downs, but I think the thought was just to make the races a little bit more safer and less controlled.
You do get, it's happened in the past, you've got some big names who've decided to go to teams that maybe are on the rise, new teams. Yeah, you think of the likes of Aqua Blue, etc. Used to be the same with Quebecer with you, Brian. You managed to tap the likes of Chorlek, of course, who took the Milan-San Remo. You had Edvald Bosenhagen, who signed up for duty and actually ignored some of the bigger teams. So it can be that almost a sideways step, or a step backwards even, or step down, can actually help you. You can take some great steps forward after that, and so it's not necessarily the end of your run. Brian, sometimes taking a step back is a great way to take a step forward as a rider.
Sometimes not. Maybe
especially
good
if you
for,
join Brian's team.
Yeah, maybe not good for some. It depends what type of rider you are. Some riders, you look at Warren Barguil. He's obviously taking that choice, and I think if you give people opportunity, every bike rider wants an opportunity, but then you get bike riders that just are happy doing their team work, and you need different types of riders for your team, of course. So you get a lot of riders just looking at their place in a team as a worker, but there's some people that are maybe looking to win races, and they want their opportunities, and it's sometimes nice to take a step back, to take maybe 2 forward.
Just under 89 kilometres to go, and we're crossing the Bosphorus. We'll zigzag all over the place. This is your Tour of Turkey Beauties Sprint Prime, and it's the last one. Leading the Beauty Sprints competition at the moment, 2 points clear of everybody else, is number 4, the Turkish champion, Onur Balkan. He's not here. And so the efforts here by Mohamed Atalay mean, as they cross the centre of this bridge, it means that we now have the Turkish national jersey, or the Beauties Sprint jersey, stays in the Turkish national team. Ahmet Orkun might actually fancy his chance of taking an extra step forward and winning a stage today, but they've done a job here. They've ensured that it stays, Brian, with the Turkish national team. They'll be up for the white jersey a little later.
I think they've done well. They've been in the breakaways. They've held that jersey from day one. And obviously Atalay is really happy with that situation. It's proud of the Turkish national team. The beauty sprint competition, he's saying, is now with us. So that's what they set out to do, and they've been successful. They've ridden aggressively, and over when this race kind of jumped up to horse category and then up to World Tour, and since obviously we've been covering this in Eurosport, I can't remember a Turkish rider winning a competition in the history of the last kind of 6 to 8 years of this race. Faizi might be able to help us, our friends, with the the data and things like that, but I think that's a big step for them, that they've come here and are walking away with one of the competitions.
Well, good for them. They'll be up on the podium and will get themselves a royal cheer. The president himself usually attends on the final day, and so as we are in the central of the old town, the centre of the old town, the market square, or the pilgrim square, between the 2 great mosques here, the Blue Mosque and indeed the former cathedral, which of course these days, as it is on that junction between Asia and Europe, is itself a mosque these days as well. Beautiful. Old Constantus, I think it was, when it was Constantinople, of course, became Istanbul. Alexander the Great had some great fun in that city, and in fact declared the old cathedral a holy place, and so it was turned to a mosque, and then the Blue Mosque itself was built. Apparently there was a bit of a minaret battle between the Blue Mosque in Turkey and indeed the great central mosque in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca itself, and apparently, I can't remember whether it's the amount of minarets or indeed the height of minarets, none of which are allowed to exceed both numerically or height-wise, the great mosque in Mecca. So yeah, apparently it was close to being so. I don't know whether they measured it all up, but yeah, slightly under in terms of numbers of minarets or indeed height. There you are. You have to get these things sorted out. Nice to see as well that they've got sort of protective railings there to stop people trying to scale some of the great pylons here that hold the bridge together. Another spectacular view of the amazing infrastructure you have in this part of the world. Just look at that. Nicely delivered, as has been this race. Great to see it still on the calendar, Brian, after being bounced around. We remind people that this race was supposed to take place in the spring, was moved for security reasons, and now finds itself entertaining us at the very end of the calendar year, I've got a feeling that this may well be its home. And if riders want to ride on, and I think plenty of teams will, I think this is a good place to do it.
Exactly, and I think it's found its place as well as we start to come off the Sultan's Bridge now, starting to head in towards Istanbul.
Lovely part of the world, great people, fabulous food, stunning weather, amazing scenery. Well, there's not much missing really, Brian.
Yes, indeed. Maybe slightly more teams, but I think that will come.
So do I.
When everybody's sitting at home thinking of their holiday and they're looking at this race, because you got to remember that many pro bike riders are watching this on their screens at home as well, and they'll be going back to their teams and going, "Oi, why don't we do the Tour of Turkey next year? It looks great." And obviously it kind of helps them, because there are some riders that want to race on to as many kind of race days as possible. They've maybe missed out on some race days, and the thing is, if you can keep your season going as long as possible and have your break and then start building up towards the end of the year. We know that Greg Van Avermaet stopped early, but he's going to start early because he wants to be good for the classics next year. But there's other riders that want to extend their season and then have a bit of a break and then start the slow process up for 2018, because many people start their training at the start of November.
There you go. Very limited Christmas dinner or lunch, whenever you have it, for many a rider. But yeah, it's an ideal way to just continue your form, is to do it in competition. Easier than trying to maintain your training out of competition. But it's, apart from anything else, it's safer, and you've got people around you which push you on, if that's your aim. Just under 85 kilometres to go then. 1:22 is our gap, and our 4-man breakaway just tapping away for the time being as we get closer and closer to Istanbul itself. Then we'll climb up to the beautiful Blue Mosque and the Basilica of Hagia Sophia. Yeah, wait till you see it. Quite mind-blowing. Back in a minute. Welcome back. Well, we ride on. We've had some birthdays here while we've been on the tour of Turkey. Just trying to remind myself who it was. Oh,
Belletti,
yeah,
yesterday.
Mani Belletti. It was indeed on stage 6 yesterday. Stage 5 yesterday, I should say. So, whose birthday is it today, Brian?
Well, it's not mine. I had mine during the Tour de France, and
Yeah,
when you bought me that massive cake, and I thanked you for that, but it was gone in one gulp. But I believe we have a legend's birthday today, not in the race, of course, but Tom Bonin's birthday today, and he turns 36 today.
36, Tom Bonin. Happy birthday, mate. Just wondering what he's whether he's going to stay, how connected he'll stay with cycling. I imagine he'll be we'll bump into him as a pundit. As far as de-essing is concerned, he doesn't really need being a direct sportive. He doesn't need the hassle. I think possibly regarded as Belgium's greatest son, certainly at the moment anyway. And the afterglow of his fine career is still with us, Brian. It was sad to see him go in some ways, but good that he bowed out at the top.
Yes, indeed. He tried to win Paris-Roubaix for the 5th time. He won it in 2005, 8, 9 and 12, and obviously with his wins in the Tour of Flanders as well, 3 there. And yeah, he bowed out at the top, which I think was the right thing to do for him. It was the right time for him, I think. It's just his motivation, and he'll be missed. He's one of these riders that you have on a team that brings the team together. But yeah, he's now retired, and we'll just have to wait and see what he takes up next.
Yeah, indeed.
I think it's car racing of some kind that he's doing at the moment.
It wouldn't surprise me. Hey, if Chris Hoy can do it, then why not? I know that's a trackie, but nonetheless. Yeah, we'll see. It's amazing how, actually staying with Quick-Step, Ilio Kaiser, who we were talking about that fabulous finish in 2012 into Izmir. Still go and have a look at it. It was stage 7 back then in 2012, and you'll find it on YouTube. It really is remarkable. Yeah, he of course doing great work on the track, where his father of course also did some great things. In fact, I believe near the Ghent track, the Ghent Velodrome, you can see Ilya Kaiser's dad still runs a bar. So go and have a look at that. And we remind you that we are heading for the track. The London 6 is coming up. We'll have the best of Ghent as well. We'll be going to Berlin and Copenhagen in the new year. So the track season just about to get underway. We also have the European Track Championships. So Tony Gibb will be bringing his gold-buckled shoes to the commentary position. Always a joy to see. We bring some Brasso as well, just to keep it lively. But yeah, Ilya will be, I assume, at least involved with some of the 6 days. Haven't got the rosters just yet, but yeah, he's a spectacular rider, both on the track and indeed on the road. And they know all about him here in Turkey. In fact, every year before the Presidential Tour of Turkey, they show that finish, described by many of you as the greatest cycling finish ever. Most dramatic. I think you're possibly right. Amazing. We were privileged to be there, both you and I, Brian.
Yeah, it was a good finish, and yeah, we've talked about it since then with the Ilya. But the race continues here as some of the riders from UAE just preparing their hair for the podium later on. But UAE controlling things very well today. Trek Segafredo are helping out, and also Bora Hansgrohe.
There's Onur Balkan. That white jersey belongs to him. He has won the Turkish Beauty Sprints, and in fact he worked hard for it. He was in the break on the opening day to Kemer, also in the run to Fethiye, where it was only 3 men, and that was a task, 206 k's. But he stuck it out there because he wanted that Beauty Sprints points, and in fact he was in the break again to Izmir yesterday. So he deserves it. And you've heard from our friend Faizi as to the Turkish riders and their success with jerseys, and you're absolutely right, Brian. This is unique.
Yes, very much so. Yes, it's not often we get success in the Presidential Tour of Turkey for the Turkish riders. A good second yesterday for Orkun, and today they have confirmed that they will take away a competition jersey on the shoulders of Onur Balkan, who wins the Beauty Sprints competition. So over the last few years, the Turkish riders have slowly but surely have developed, and they've developed now to battle it out with some of the world's best in the breakaways, and now winning a competition.
There's no reason why not. They've got some great athletes in Turkish cycling, and in fact it's been a joy to watch them over the last few years, and it's been a gift from Abdulrahman, Faizi, and Aydan as well. The guys did a fantastic job of basically giving this race a firm platform upon which it has now vaulted into the World Tour, and as a result we've now got 4 World Tour teams here. I think we'll have more next year, 13 teams in total. Saw Mirko Maestri a few moments ago, and yeah, he has secured the King of the Mountains jersey competition as well, because these guys rolled through, and now he can't be caught. They rolled through on the only categorised climbers today, a category 4 with 2 and 1 points available. Just to confirm that Tom Bonin is a birthday boy today, and we send him our very best wishes as well. Already our minds are turning to the classics, Brian, when in fact, is this your last road racing day of the season? I believe it must be. Are you in for the track?
Yeah, my commentary season ends. This is my final day today.
Oh, Brian, what a tear, mate.
I know, we just have to, I need to hibernate for the winter on the road season, and then yeah, recharge my batteries. But this man here, thank you to Trudgen for reminding me, Paulo Simeon, talking about birthdays. He was 25 on Tuesday.
Good boy. Happy birthday to him, and thanks to Josephine for the duet we assumed that it was De Ruyter, but no, it's De Rouet. He's up here as well, along with Stoch, who you've just seen, and there is Mr. De Rouet from the French-speaking part of Belgium. And he's been a busy boy, actually. He was in the break on stage 3 as well, so he's kind of used to this. Stage 3 was that run to Marmaris. So, 1 minute and 35, Brian, with 77.4 kilometres remaining. I think your falafel recipe could well be getting an airing any minute. What do you think?
No chance, it's a family secret, so absolutely no chance with many other family secrets. But yeah, a 4-man group, a couple of teams willing to ride at the front. Bora Hansgrohe being one of them. They've already won 4 stages with Sam Bennett. Another one is very likely today, but they'll have to try and do it without Gregory Melberger, who is out sick a couple of days ago, never started. Michael Schwarzman never started as well, pulled out. I think similar sickness. He was on the deck yesterday. But they've got Herkalots, who rode well yesterday, stayed with Sam Bennett on the climb, riding at the front with Gregory Daniel of Trek Segafredo. So both Trek Segafredo and Bora Hansgrohe will lock horns yet again today, and I really think that this is a big opportunity for Edward Theuns. It's his type of finish, but then again it's Sam Bennett's type of finish, and it's all about positioning. And yesterday Trek had very good positioning, and Sam Bennett didn't have, because of the kind of headwind running from the dog leg with about 1.5 kilometres to go, and without too many teammates. Sam Bennett was a little bit too far back, and he had to come up the barrier sides. He had to move Albanese out the way to create a gap for him, and he came up at the perfect time. Just as we're talking about him, he came up at the perfect time, and you know, when he gets within sight of the finish, he's faster than anybody else. But I think Trek Segafredo have to look at it. If they can get Theuns in a perfect place, Theuns I think has to have a dig in this final climb and try and keep it going all the way to the finish if he's going to try and beat this man.
He's got no option. Sam Bennett, though, has proven that he can get over some pretty significant tests as well, inclines-wise, and he'll have something left in the legs, I'm sure, by the time we get to the Market Square between the two mosques later on today. It is quite technical on the approach. In fact, in the last kilometre, there were some very, very nasty turns. In fact, four right angles to deal with. In 47, let's talk about that approach, actually, because we're going to be down on the side of the Bosphorus where the Aqua buses stop. It's a bus service, basically, of hydrofoils. In fact, that's where we usually, Brian, we take a stroll, don't we, down, and but you have to buy a ticket, you take it to an office, they give you a token, you take the token and you go to a barrier, you put it in the barrier, then you wait in a holding area, and when your boat arrives, you're allowed to get on it. It seems very complicated, but when you're actually on the boat, especially on a Saturday when the football's kicking off, Brian, it's actually a quicker way to move around Istanbul, and a very pleasant one as well.
It's a quicker way, full stop, to travel over the water when you're around Istanbul. We've used it in the past, and yeah, the roads around Istanbul. Well, I just say that the roads around Istanbul, but not these roads. Obviously, these new roads, but in Istanbul itself are full of traffic and cars and very difficult to move around. These
roads don't seem overly popular, I must say, unless it's a brand new road. Is it a toll road? I can't see, despite the what must have been a significant expense, I can't see a whole load of traffic on this.
No, there's not a lot.
I know we closed our side, but
this was predominantly all forestation, and they've taken it all down and put this beautiful, if you call it, beautiful road, and the Sultan's Bridge, and put a beauty sprint there. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be used a lot. Istanbul, lovely city, you know, culture, mosques, absolutely stunning.
Goats.
But yeah, don't goat. But it's really, really busy. As anybody that's been travelling around there by car, yeah, it's let's say there's a few dents in a lot of the locals' cars.
It's lively. in town. I can tell you that much. So yeah, we've got some wide open spaces here, and but yeah, we always love coming to Turkey, and I'm sure that many of the World Tour teams will be coming back next time by. That looks like an old drainage, an old footpath which has been readapted. You can see the woodland that that's much of which still remains here, but yeah, there's a lot of clearance that went on to create this. And it looks like our friend here is he's trying to herd it's a mixture actually of sheep and goats. Good for him. Let's go and try his cheeses. We're going to take ourselves a break while we dwell on our highway. However, it will liven up as we get to town, promise, and we thank you for your company. So we'll take that break. We'll be back with you and take some of your questions on Twitter after this. Welcome back. Ahmed Orkan, champion, potentially, or at least a stage winner potentially. Yesterday he showed that potential with a fantastic run towards Izmir, beat Turns, beat Consoni, didn't quite manage to beat Bennett. In fact, in a sprint nobody's beaten him, and that's why he's the points leader. Wears the green jersey here. The overall leader, you're seeing him on your screen right now. Blue, not of Astana, pretty similar in terms of colour palette. You see him bobbing out, but he wears the red helmet of UAE, and he's our glorious leader. And it's likely to be so at the end of today. Just going to welcome our entire Eurosport family back together before we move on. And I noticed that at the Keyifli by Mola, where you can presumably buy some false teeth, you can also have a Burger King. Just under 72 kilometres from home, minute and 26, and it's a question of dealing with the day as modestly as you can. We're just coming up to the feed zone actually, and can't for one moment imagine it's as pleasant as the feeds that we managed to have ourselves here. The food in Turkey is just beyond belief as far as I'm concerned. It ticks all the right boxes. Yeah, and we'll just avert our eyes as the comfort breaks rain in here. And indeed, they'll put some of that fluid back in at the drink stop in a few moments' time. Short day today, 144 kilometres. Still a decent distance, but the temperature's been kind to us. And indeed, so is the entertainment. This is our friend Onur Balkan in the white jersey. They make as much of it as they possibly can here on Turkish television. One of the things that this year's organisers haven't really nailed is just the beautiful surroundings that we go through. In fact, we passed by Efeses and we didn't see it at all. All right, we may have caught just almost a flash of it, but really, I think we should have dwelt on it for quite some time. It really would have given you an insight into, those of you who haven't seen it, the ancient side of this great country. 71 kilometres to go. Then the road's still snaking its way inexorably towards Istanbul. We've had problems in the past with people crossing the road and even dogs. Not necessarily Istanbul, but yeah, the odd sort of bit of domestic feral wildlife. Actually, it wouldn't be wildlife, would it? But yeah, feral life. Just getting where it shouldn't be. So I'm just hoping that that doesn't become the case today. Looks like it's going to be a sprint, Brian, but it may well get very, very selective by the end. And we were talking about the approach. There are some nasty hairpins. There's one kind of double 90-degree, which is all bar a hairpin in the square itself, and some very testing corners and a big pinch when you head through a gate up to the old city.
That's going to be the positioning point. It's going to be key for any team thinking of winning, getting onto that final climb, because as soon as you turn onto the climb, riders will be changing gears, putting into the smaller chain ring, and you know, anything could happen, and unshipping chains, and you know, some people, human bollards, as some riders ride into the bottom of the climb to put their leader in a position and then start drifting back. It's not overly wide, and you know, obviously there's some kind of paving stones and things like that as well, so it's a very tricky finish. So it's going to be a battle to the bottom of the climb, onto the steepest part, which is at the bottom. Once you go over the top, it kind of levels out, and then you go round the square. So it's going to be a really interesting one. But the team that have managed to get their rider in the right position pretty much in all the sprints, but he hasn't delivered a win yet, is Edward Turns and Trek Segafredo, and I think they will do likewise. But then again, UAE might want to go out with a bang with Consoni. He sprinted well yesterday, and he likes some nice kind of uphill sprints. But I think we'll see maybe one or two riders. When you think of Mas, when he went on the attack on that climb, and I think we're going to see something similar. A lot of the riders and teams will have a looked at that finish, get in position, knowing that they can't beat Sam Bennett in a straight sprint. So I think we're going to see some attacks, late attacks in that final climb.
I think we're going to see Edward Prada's having a go. I think he'll go well. He can climb. Consoni is not bad either on an incline. They'll both want an early introduction. I think Consoni is possibly, for the United Arab Emirates, going to be quite a good car for them to play. I don't think he's going to be on nursing duties for Diego Ulizzi. He's going to be watching the back wheel, potentially, of Jesper Hansen. The last thing he wants is to throw away the overall very, very late on. It's only 12 seconds between them. I don't think that'll happen. Ulizzi's very, very capable, particularly on the climb, and so he'll get a good finish. He'll certainly be top 20, and very minded to avoid any gaps and being caught behind them. They've been through the feed. Some have gone for it, and many have not, because on a short day they've got to the feed station after just over 70 kilometres, and many of them won't need much. They will have. Calorie-wise, they will have been able to carry as much as they need for the day with them right at the top. So not too many knapsacks knocking around at the moment. I think this is probably just gels and bottles being handed out by one man. In fact, he's on the radio saying he ordered some jelly sweets. There's no jelly sweets in here. You can get treats, by the way, especially on a long day. We didn't really dwell on it on our run to Fethiye, but maybe we should have done. Yeah, you can ask for certain things. You were just an omnivore. You never bothered having anything special in your knapsack, did you? Or did you?
Not really. I was kind of just boring. You know what I mean? Boring brine.
Porridge in the morning.
Just get what I was given
for dinner.
Exactly. I never used to complain too much. You know, I wasn't a prima donna. I didn't expect, blue Smarties or anything like that, or a flower in my bag. But sometimes you got that from the Swan Years when you say surprises. They'll maybe do things. It might just be a dandelion at the side of the road, but it means a lot. So yeah, it's about the morale within a cycling team. You'll get some small surprises. They won't show you. They'll go to the feed zone and they'll hand you up a bag, and you open the bag and pull things out, and there could be something just for a little bit of humour. Yeah,
I've actually seen a bit of flapjack, so sort of oat based. So Brian's well in for that.
I did get. I was racing on my birthday once, and did get my bottles handed up to me with written on it "Happy Birthday."
Oh, that's nice. There we go. And you know, on cold days you can get warm tea and honey in there and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I won't say where it was. It wasn't on this race, but a rider was handed a bit of flapjack within his knapsack, and it was wrapped in a page from a magazine. And I'm just going to leave it hanging there as to what sort of magazine it was. But yes, it caused great amusement, especially as it got caught on camera. We panned away rather quickly. Minute 13, 66.8 kilometres then from our destination, and it's going to draw to a close today. What's been a fantastic race. It's been enthralling. Here's our race director. This is Berat Alpam. Oh, there we are. And he looks a lot happier today. He's looked extremely serious over the last few days whenever we've come to him, but right now he looks like he's in his element. I guess because his worry is nearly over. There we are. And look at that. He's even acting as a as a tidy up. In fact, has he got a special gift in there as well? You never know.
He was hungry. He was hungry, and Newage from UAE just came over and
yeah, don't throw it. I'll have it.
Yeah, gave him something to get him through the final 66 kilometres.
How nice is that? There is Astana lined out today. They'll be working for Ricardo Manali. Edward Pradis of Caja Rural, I think, is a very good option today. Caja Rural like this race, as Brian was saying. They've had success here before. This is Marco Coladan. He's part of the lead-out train for Edward Toons. They've got Boy Van Poppel still racing as well, and Carl Ryman, who, if you like Shane Archibald's mullet, then Carl Ryman should fit the bill as well for you. He's also got long hair. Who was it? Was it my friend Paul Bennett was saying that was just trying to describe Shane Archibald's hair. Archibald, no I, sorry. And he said it looks like some roadkill has been stuffed in his helmet. Yeah, I'll go with that. Some of you watching in from down under in New Zealand. Brandon Clark is one of those. Tour of Turkey live in New Zealand. Nice for you to be with us. I'm trusting that you're on Eurosport. 65.3 kilometres then it is from home. An awful lot further from home is Shane Archibald. He is going to Aqua Blue, we understand, and that may be a move to tempt Sam Bennett as well. Sam kind of suffers with the Sagan effect potentially. When you have a massive name within a team, Brian, it can cast too big a shadow for some to sustain, especially if that rider is the same sort of rider as you happen to be.
Exactly, and I think the move from Shane Archibald by Aqua Blue may be thinking of the future, and obviously Aqua Blue Sport has to find the budget to maybe try and think about stepping up to World Tour as well. But it's definitely an option, and Shane Archibald, if he was bald, it would be the best name for a rider, but he's not. He's got a full head of hair, and he used it to good advantage. One of the last times I saw him actually was in the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, where he won the scratch race for New Zealand and won the gold medal there. So an exceptional track rider, very good guy, very good lead-out rider, and one right-hand man that Sam Bennett will possibly miss next year.
Or indeed be riding with. If it happens, you heard it here first. If it doesn't happen, forget it. A minute and 5. Yeah, that's the rumour mill that Brian and I, it's amazing what we come up with at the breakfast, actually.
I keep mine down.
Porridge, mate, you're used to it. That's all you have. Is there any protein in porridge? No. That's why he just has peas occasionally when he goes for savoury porridge for lunch. If Brian was a prisoner, he could do just fine. 64 kilometres from home. A minute is the gap. Gosh, hope we get to Istanbul soon before we make a nuisance of ourselves. Back in a moment. We've got a break. We're doing the up the nostril shot at the moment, just to sort of keep it alive artistically. Because today it's been a highway approach. To hell for somebody, I imagine, especially if things go wrong on the climb. And we've got this long sort of looping approach. When we make our turn up to the old city, we'll be turning right for the first time. We used to come in from heading in an easterly direction, but in fact we'll be coming in from the east heading west this time by making our turn, and that's the first real race that we're going to see today. There will be a real pace to get to the front with, because when you make the turn there's only 1400 meters to go, and if you're in the wrong place there, you ain't going to win it. I suggest you'll have to be in the top 10 to get there. 61.5 kilometers from the line, but 60 to the big pinch point today. With 1.5 to go, we'll be turning right into the old town through a gateway. It's a real narrowing of the roads, of which they are inordinately wide right here. But when we get to that point, Brian, you're going to have to be extremely well placed to have a chance of victory at the gate to the Old Town with 1.5 to go.
Yeah, for sure, it's critical, and everybody knows that. The run-in today, yeah, we actually go past the right-hand turn, continue into a dogleg. That dogleg comes with just under 16 kilometres to go. We still get the final sprint of the day, but I don't think that'll be contested, because the overall 3:2 and 1 seconds, I don't think anybody's kind of really interested in that. And in the points competition, Sam Bennett has got a big lead in that, courtesy of his 4 stage wins. And then we come back out and have another U-turn with 8.5 kilometres to go, and then come back to that right-hand turn. And yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one, and position will be key.
Sam Lee is loaded up with bottles. He's put them in the belly zone, so he's stretched that jersey good and proper. I might pop down after the race and ask him if he's interested in exchanging it, because it's the only way that's going to fit me. Is to have that. Minute and 4. That's your gap. Thanks for your questions. Andrew Greaves says, just how difficult is it for riders to remain motivated when the race is like today? To be honest, Andrew, at the end of a 6-day race, at the end of a long season, I think they will be reasonably motivated, but there is a sort of an end-of-term feel about the day. And you've seen that with riders saying thank you to teammates, handing over bidons to the race director for souvenirs and the like. And I think once now the jerseys are almost set, there's a stage win up for grabs, so the approach is not that critical, Brian. Today's parkour almost invites a sense of relief, and indeed bonhomie amongst everybody, it seems.
Yeah, there's a lot of these riders won't be seeing each other for a while now, and I think the riders at the front are just kind of concentrating and doing their work. Everybody else is just having a little bit of a chit-chat. Some people like this type of kind of race and parkour because they get an opportunity just to relax and catch up with some friends out with their own team, and you know, general kind of chit chat and things like that. But this will change as soon as we come into Istanbul. The change of the peloton, they'll start full concentration. But this is a time where you have to really concentrate. If you're in that leader's jersey, and this is why UAE at the front of the red helmets, they have to keep on switched on. They have to be motivated, because it's a lack of concentration. Touch of wheels, we've seen it yesterday. They weren't going particularly fast, but a lot of riders came down, almost a dozen riders. And unfortunately, when we were coming out of the kind of Vestel industrial area, it wasn't a particularly fast crash. Zurlo came down, Alfaci came down onto the handlebars of Zurlo's bike and fractured a couple of ribs. So that's where you have to kind of keep concentrating. But it's the same for the breakaway. Big wide roads, no spectators. They just have to focus and do the job.
Brandon Cox enjoying it. He said he didn't manage to catch the Tour of the Vuelta, but he's in for the end of the season. It's good to have you with us, Brandon. Yeah, it is end of road season, but as we were reminding viewers at the top of the programme, the racing goes on here at Eurosport, because we are heading for the track. We've got the Europeans, we've got the London 6, indeed we've got the UCI World Cup events as well, and we'll have the Ghent 6 final day as well. People say, well, why don't you show all of the Ghent 6? I'd love to, but the local television providers only film the final day. Apparently it's because they believe that people will watch it on TV and not go to the event, and they want to sell the tickets. I think that's very misguided, because they sold the tickets out, I think, within 3 hours of going on sale this year for Ghent, which is a huge standalone 6-day event that is a massive party. Sort of, if you think this is end of season right now, you should go there and just find yourself amongst the the cycling's fun, boys, let's put it that way. At the end of the year, they all go to Ghent and they have a right royal time. Should we just put it that way, shall we? Belgium, of course, famous for its spectacular beers, and you can experience just about all of them, it seems, at the Ghent 6. When we go to the 6-day events, the centre area, by the way, is the restaurant and VIP area. You can usually find Brian there with a vol au vent and a glass of champagne. But if you're just behind the fence on the other side, within the centre, the track centre, you can have yourself a sausage roll and a beer, which is where I function. So I just waved to Brian, who's got lots of space spread out on his leather seats, while I'm just, you know, he's usually got an olive on a cocktail stick, while I'm just chomping into a something a bit more substantial. It's probably why Brian's the shape he is and why I am the shape I am. Just saw Sam Bennett there. He's got a job to do today. I think he's going to be hyper motivated, but more than that, I think he's going to have a sense of calm knowing that he's basically done the job of stage wins here. If you'd offered him 4 before this race began, he'd have taken that, Brian, but 5 would be nice.
Well, he's taken a bit of 4 before and hit every of his competitors round the head with it, because you know, to come here in a 6-day race and take 4 stages already, I think he doesn't want to be beaten. And some riders would think, well, I've already won 4 stages, I can relax a little bit. No, I think Sam, yesterday was his 10th win of the year, and it's in the back of his mind that he is the fastest sprinter here. He can potentially win another stage, take it to 11 for the year, and it's always they want to rack up as many wins as possible in their career, and you don't want to let this one go begging. He will be attacked for this one for sure, but I think Sam Bennett is definitely the favourite for today.
Taksim Square, just having a made famous for various reasons. Some of them nice, some of them not so. Thomas Glendinning saying, watching with fingers crossed that Diego wins today. Diego Ulissi, of course. Well, it looks like he will.
Tommy.
Yeah, I think he'll go very, very well today. You know Tommy?
Yes, he spent a lot of time in Italy, and I think that's why he's going with Ulissi. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, Thomas.
Indeed. Well, Ulissi, I think it looks like a shoo-in. Able to cope with the climb and go quickly, he is of the GC men. I can't see him handing it over, despite the fact he's got a modest 12-second advantage.
No, he just has to be careful that he doesn't have any type of mechanical or anything like that, or crash. Okay, there's the 3 kilometre rule at the finish, but the peloton won't finish together on this climb, so where will they position them? If someone has a mechanical, they position them on the main part of the peloton, while if there's, you know, some riders in front or groups of riders in front, that's what he has to be careful of. But I think Ulissi, taking no chances yesterday, if you can remember, Carlton, into that dog leg, where that was kind of potentially anything could happen in that type of corner, people dive bombing coming in. He was the first into that of the peloton. They had a couple of attackers of the Turkish rider Samli, and just in front of him Maestri, but the leader's jersey was first of the bunch round that corner, just keeping it nice and clean, keeping out of trouble. And I think that's the order of the day as well for Ulissi, just keeping out of trouble. He may have a dig, he's very capable, he's explosive enough, he may have a dig and try to go out in style. But first focus is in staying safe today.
Yeah, I expect UAE to have, I think, riders around Ulissi at that point, at that pinch. There'll be a lot of teams want to stay safe. The pinch being at 1.5 kilometres, just after that marker, where they make a turn into the old town. They've got to go through the old city walls, basically. And so there's an arch through which they go, and then they start climbing. Once they do the climb, at the Flamme Rouge, there's the first of 5 90-degree turns. So the road curves around to the right, and then it's a 90-degree at the Flamme Rouge. There's another at 750. There's a little shimmy before we get another at about 500. Then the final 2 are both right-handers, which is essentially a hairpin, because it's around the far corner of the square. that sits between the two great mosques here, and then they'll head for the finish line. Get it wrong on any of those corners and you're done for. So if it's tight, and by tight I think the best you can hope for is maybe 6-7 riders duking it out through those turns, and it usually is a straight line with somebody with the advantage off the final corner.
Yeah, there will be gaps, they'll be strung out. I can't see there being too much of a danger. The danger is at the bottom of the climb, but once that's taken care of, it will stretch itself out. But it's really an interesting final. It's not a promenade. They're going to race hard. Stage went up for grabs. Bora Hansgrohe and Sam Bennett have got 4. UE and Elise have got 1. So, you know, there's a lot of teams that are going to go away empty-handed. But yeah, just nice little bit of history to see that the Turkish riders have come here. They've ridden with a lot of courage, and they're going to walk away with a nice second place yesterday with Orkin, and a competition jersey in the hands of owner Balkan.
Can you eat millet?
Can you eat what?
Millet. That's what you feed budgerigars. It looked like I don't think you can.
No.
But anyway, you probably can, but it'll give you a
could
tummy
be
upset.
flying up the climbs,
Stoish.
chirping away.
Stoish's energy bar there really looked like that. I've got a feeling it may well be pressed figs. You've got to be careful how much of that stuff you eat, quite frankly, because otherwise you might have slight jet power as you finish off the day. But nonetheless, heavily seeded. He's just stuffed it where we won't find it now. Well, in his mouth. So he's enjoying that. I think it was pressed figs as opposed to millet, but it crossed my mind, so I just thought I'd ask the question. Brian knows these things. It's very up on seeds, but mainly oats. 54 kilometres, just under that remaining. I'm going to get hit in a minute. Minute and 40. Minute and 40 it is, the gap. You know what, they're within sight of those guys up the road. There's no urgency, is there?
No, they're just holding them out there between kind of 1 and 2 minutes. No real danger. But a really interesting one just seen here, winner in Istanbul in 2016, Nimic. It was a different finish when he won, but obviously got that experience. He'll be there to look after Ulissi, but they also have Consoni, and maybe if it's safe enough for Elise might want to try and help Consoni. They might want to try and win this final stage, because Consoni sprinted well yesterday into 3rd place and likes this type of finish, so if they get good control. But it will be a battle, because Trek Segafredo are another team that really are desperate for a while. Whether they Edward Towns waits for the sprint, but I don't think he can wait. I think he has to have a crack. But Pantano had a go yesterday. Okay, it never came to anything, but I think Trek Segafredo will be looking at their options today as well.
I think you might get a surprise today. Someone like Jonas Koch, Edward Prades, Koch from CCC Brandy, young German. Edward Prades from Cairo Ral, who've had success here in the past, denied Mark Cavendish, of course, and Prades will have, the team will have picked apart forensically this approach. He can climb and go quickly, the Spaniard. So watch out for him in the green, black and white. Ahmed Orkin is running very well. He's hyper-motivated. He came very, very close to a stage win yesterday, following on the coattails of Sam Bennett. I imagine he'll probably be just keeping tabs on him again today. I think Bennett will be better protected than he was yesterday because of the climb, but Bennett has sustained it better than many of his teammates who are supposedly better climbers than he, but nonetheless. So Ahmed Orkin will be up there. Prades will be as well. Jonas Koch from CCC Sprandi. And I also think that we're going to have a good run, as Brian was saying, by Simone Consoni. He looked terrific yesterday, had a bit of pace about him, just mistimed ever so slightly, and I think was one of those that got balked just a little bit, bumped and bruised by Bennett, who I think if he hadn't won 3 stages, noblesse oblige and all that, I think he probably would have got sanctioned yesterday for roughhousing on the approach. He got away with it as green jersey wearer, and he may well get away with it again today. Jarosson Pantano looks like all his Christmases have come at once. We talked about the end of term feeling, and this man looks like he's opening his presents, Brian. He's a happy boy.
Yeah, he's certainly chirpy, having a laugh with some of the other riders at the back of the main peloton. It's a good day for many. There was a talk about how the riders stay motivated. Well, just talking to other riders, other teams. Most of these riders are kind of cocooned within their own team buses, obviously dinner and breakfast and things like that. So, on the bike, it's sometimes good to kind of catch up with some of your fellow professionals and just have a little bit of a wind up.
It's nice. Nice to see him so relaxed. Passing by one of the great edify here to football. Many teams, I think there's 5 teams in Istanbul, and indeed, so there's derby matches going on quite a regular basis. Galatasaray is one of them. Is it Besiktas is the other? Brian's an aficionado on this. We'll come to in a moment. Tim Barthorpe, thank you, Tim. He's our lexicon of love. Was that ABC? Anyway, that was a long time ago. Millet is edible, according to Tim. He sent me a recipe as well. Looks absolutely spectacular. So yeah, well, in that case, I'll revert back. Yeah, millet bar it was for our man in the break here, Patrick Stosch. Yes, Martin Milner as well, sending me he's got a recipe for a millet vegetable pie. Apparently it's calcium, high in calcium, iron and fibre, and has a nutty finish. Speaking of which, here's Brian. What about these football teams, Brian? There's so many of them.
Tim sounds a bit chirpy, but there's 3 teams in Istanbul. Besiktas, you're right, Fenerbahce and Galatasaray.
I mean 2. I didn't do too bad, did I? They're the Division 1 teams, but I believe there are some smaller teams as well. But anyway, yeah, a spectacular footballing heritage. And but of course today it's about cycling. Although there are games this evening, and I believe that's why we always finish on this day a little bit early. This is our breakaway. They've been up the road for much of the day. Brian, it's time to give them some credit here. Our brave break.
Yes, we have Atalay, they're the Turkish rider, 26 minutes and 12 seconds off the overall lead, 28-year-olds, and he won the beauty sprint of the day over the Sultan's Bridge. And then you've got Derouet in second place there in the yellow and the black, the 22-year-old Belgian, 22-26 down in the general classification. Bardiani in the green have Paolo Simeon, who turned 25 on Tuesday, 23.55 of the overall, 25-year-old Italian. And the last one in the orange, Patrick Stoich from CCC, 12 minutes and 2 seconds, the best placed of the breakaway riders, 23-year-old Paul. And as we can see, the breakaway still have an advantage of between 1.5 and 2 minutes.
The old Romelli Fortress, which used to protect the old fort here, almost looks like the Great Wall of China, but just slightly smaller.
Slightly.
Well, yeah, you saw the gag. Yeah, it used to be a beacon on the top here, by the way. I guess being on the headland, it gave great warning of, well, whoever they were warning against. Could have been Brian. But anyway, that fire's been put out right now. There's a very long well shaft to keep those at the top watered when there was a platform here, which has since rotted away. But they've rebuilt, as you can see, the inner stairway. So just in case you were wondering what the spike was in the middle, it's a well. Minute and 42, no change, and in fact no change for much of the day. Short-changing us? Don't think so. By the time we get to the finish, we're nearly up to the 100 kilometres completed margin today, and it's felt a bit like a training ride, I must say. Nobody looks overly stressed, but that means there'll be a lot of power left in the legs for later today, Brian, when we finally get to our destination, and the pace is going to pick up. These guys are going to get absorbed, and then we're going to run in at high speed to our destination, Istanbul.
Yeah, I think we've seen it in the stage into Fethiye. It was a long stage. It wasn't exactly fast, but in the last 10 kilometres it became a little bit frantic, and we're going to see this today. And obviously in a lot of the riders' minds, there's no tomorrow, so this is the final day, and a lot of pressure from a lot of sports directors. You come into this race, you want to try and win something, whether it's a competition jersey or a stage. And Bardiani in the green, they can go away with the King of the Mountains. They'll love a stage, of course, but they've got the King of the Mountains jersey. The Turkish national team have got the beauty sprints competition. Sam Bennett, 4 stages already, the green jersey, and UAE with the leaders jersey. So there's a lot of teams that haven't got anything, so this is the last opportunity for them. So the pressure is on them. They may take some more risks today to make sure that they're in the perfect position, but I think it will still come down to this final climb up towards the finish.
Here we go then. Back at Car at Androni. They've had a good run, They've been duking it out with Villiers, and it's a modest margin at the top of the team's competition. There's 21 seconds separating Villiers and the UAE. Androni have dropped out of this after leading the team's competition for a couple of the stages. 21 seconds sounds like an unbridgeable gap, but it's not if you finish strongly. I've got a feeling that UAE are probably going to finish stronger than Villiers Triestina, and if they come home with 3 or 4 riders and there's a split, it may well be that UAE get the team competition here as well.
Exactly, and UAE will think about this, because to get the team competition in a World Tour event, a lot of teams sometimes tend to target it. I know that over the last few years, maybe not this year, but over the last few years, a team like Movistar really takes pride in going for that competition, especially in the Tour de France.
Shane Archibald just stretching out the hams, as you can see. He's on the top bar, and if we had a rougher road surface, he probably wouldn't have done that. But anyway, apparently the word is that, that having a mullet like this doesn't actually hamper you too much. It dissipates the air off the back of the helmet. Maybe we should all have one.
Stops the sun on your neck.
There are plenty of other things as well that it could do for you, but one of which is keep you on your own in a nightclub. Only teasing, Shane. Yeah, he's been terrific today. He's clearly. I don't think this is cramp. I think this is just making sure he's stretched out and ready. It's his Tai Chi really ahead of his duties for Sam Bennett a little bit later on. The team will be reassembled in terms of their lead out, at least to deliver Bennett to a decent position. How much help he'll get in the climb is anyone's guess. It may well come down to him, but nonetheless they will, I imagine, add a little bit of impetus to today. And the pace is clearly picking up, Brian. We're finally getting there.
I think everybody can see that they're starting heading in towards Istanbul now, and yeah, the sports directors behind will start to talk to the riders and get them focused, because they know a lot of them have been professional bike riders themselves. In a final stage like this, maybe it's not going to be a promenade for the finish, but until now most of these riders have had a bit of a promenade on these big wide open roads, and it's time to kind of start to switch on.
Denise Hardacre, hi Dee, she said, is this the guy in charge of the race this year, has it been about showcasing the roads? It's felt a bit like that, Denise, I must admit. I think they could have done with another helicopter, or at least putting some shots in the bank of some of the spectacular scenes that we're sailing by here. When we get to Istanbul, you can almost not help but see the drama of it. And indeed, the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque themselves, breathtaking. We're going to get there. Welcome back. Road's closed beautifully ahead of us, and it's getting busier ahead of the race. You're looking at it right now. 41 kilometres to go. And so we've just flown by the Bosphorus Bridge, heading into town. There is, of course, this amazing split right the way across the peninsula and it's essentially what separates Asia from Europe. So a great coming together. Indeed, that's exactly what we're going to have on our approach today, and Bora have now invested in the chase. Ulissi and UAE have been doing much of the work, but you know who's going to be busy at the end of today, just by those who are mobbing the front at the moment. Edward Prales, who I think is a contender today, got himself a puncture, rear ender, so off he comes, tries to help out and speed things up, but very closely attended. No panic, we're just heading towards the Bosphorus, and indeed once we have traversed that, we'll be heading down. In fact, we're skirting it today. We've already dealt with our only bridge, which was crossing the Bosphorus to the north of the Bosphorus Bridge. No, it's strange, but there are a few bridges knocking around. And that was the Turkish Bridgie Sprint at 54.6 kilometres into the race. Well, today's stage was only 144, so as you can see, we've dealt with over 100 so far. Pace has changed. Bora now setting their stall out. This is adding a little bit of impetus, and indeed a proper approach speed. They don't want to make a fool of themselves by letting this breakaway get too far up the road, then leaving it all too late for the catchback. Now they're pushing on. UAE have been the main driving force, but Trek have also put a man up here likewise, just to add a bit, buy themselves a right to fight at the very end. Androni thinking about it too. They had a good run yesterday. Ballerina and Gavazzi got a bit tangled up in what was a bit of a brutal affair on the approach to yesterday's sprint finish. They'll hope to go better today, and in fact they've had some decent finishes. Van Dam was 5th on stage 3. Benfato was 4th, always behind Bennett of course, on stage 2. And Benfato was runner-up to Bennett on the opening stage. So Benfato, well, either he or Ballerini, who went well yesterday, or Gavazzi. So they've got some options, and they're hovering just behind the leader's blue jersey here, which sits on the back of Diego Ulissi. His team are likewise adding a bit of impetus to the drive. In fact, our speed has really picked up. 39 kilometres remaining. I think when we went to the break just a few minutes ago, we were well into the 40s. So it's clipping down nicely, and the approach speed will be high. The fastest of all will be up to the 1.5 kilometres to go marker. Then it'll slow down on the climb. But yes, the pace that we will have with about 4 kilometres to go is going to be really punishing, because they swing round a headland on the edge of the Bosphorus. They come by the Tari Yamada Historical Peninsula, and then they take that right-hander up into the old town. And that's where all hell is going to break loose, I'm afraid, today, for some. I hope they stay safe, Brian, because it is a squeeze at that 1.5k marker.
It definitely is, and we've seen some incidents in the past in this race coming into Istanbul as well, but particularly in the corners at the bottom of the climb. So yeah, I hope everybody stays safe and it's a clean fight, but definitely it will be a fight to get into that part of the course, and then it's a fight for the stage win, and you really have to be in the last about 20 kilometres. You can just see the riders now talking within themselves,
referencing their power meters actually here.
No,
as well.
I was just trying to listen to them a second there.
You speak Turkish?
A little bit now. Spent so much time over here. I think what they're trying to do is, when they know the gap's coming down, so I think what they have to try and do now is try and up the tempo a little bit. They've been bowling along, they've been kept out there, but I think they have to get a little bit more serious now, and I think what Atali was trying to communicate with Stoich was that they have to try and race a little bit harder now.
Yeah, he was talking about the power meter and how much he's put into today, and clear, he knows his own numbers. A lot of riders do race to numbers, and he'll know that he's got some reserves left, and that was what he was trying to transmit. And basically saying, come on guys, let's get on with it. In old school speak, minute 18, it really has tumbled, and Trek are getting busy likewise. I've been impressed with both the Americans, actually. Both Gregory Daniel and Carl Reinen have worked very, very well with Trek. They've been super. Jarelson Pantano, we've seen him shooting the breeze with some of the guys. I think he's in too much of a party mood, to be honest. He's already looking to a cool glass of Efes at the Market Square a little bit later on. Boy Van Poppel and Carl Reinen, as well as Marco Colodan, have been working really well. For Edvard Turns, Fumiaki Beppu fell yesterday. I'm not sure whether he bounced and whether he's okay, but that usually gives you a bit of a body shock. Edvard Turns, I've lost belief. I know he's your thoughts for today, Brian, but he's had so many chances. All right, yesterday he didn't get the best delivery from his team, but he's had 2 second places, 1 third and 4th yesterday. It's like he's peaked and it's just going off the boil. Does he believe he can beat Bennett?
That's where the team came in. He was annoyed at the finish yesterday. I still believe that it's a stage for him, but this is the man he has to beat. This is the favourite for today's stage. But Toynes will give it a go, but I can't see Bennett being too far away from Toynes in the finish, and he'll beat him in the sprints. It's more possibly other riders that may want to surprise. You've already mentioned one of them, Prades from Caja. There's another one, Jordi Simon of the Brazil team. They've been there and thereabouts. They lost a couple of riders yesterday because of the crash, but they're still in there. And then they've got Androni, have got Gavazzi, very experienced riders. So that there is a lot of riders that still have an opportunity to try and take the stage win. But I still do think that the Irishman Sam Bennett is the out-and-out favourite for today's win. But Toynes, he has to keep on trying, and I think his team will get behind him. But Pantano might do what he did yesterday, try and attack in that final climb, try and draw out the likes of Sam Bennett and see what develops. But if it comes down to a sprint around that square, for sure Sam Bennett is going to take the win. So that's why I think some of the teams are going to attack this final climb.
Well, he's a good bike handler, we've seen that. He's quite happy to mix it with the boys, let's put it that way, Sam Bennett. There's some pretty sketchy corners. I'm actually wondering whether the last two may well see some more elbows. The last two corners coming as they do, one straight after the other, rat-a-tat. Indeed, it's almost a hairpin. In fact, you can treat it like that if it's a double right-hander, 2 90-degree turns quite close together. So if you use all of the road, there's not that much to play with. You might well just be able to smooth it out to a hairpin, but I don't know how close it's going to be. It depends on that climb, and we've seen it strung out in the past, and we've seen bravery rewarded, and Caja Rural will know all about that, Brian. They've got history here, and Prades has got a good chance today. Yes,
they took the win a couple of years ago with Mass, and they'll know the climb, they'll know the finish, and they want to try and get a repeat performance. But there's certainly a lot of other riders and teams in here thinking of doing likewise, because Sam Bennett has won 4 stages, and every team that has come here wants to try and have some sort of success out of the race, whether it's a top 3 performance in the overall, whether it's a competition jersey, stage win. They all come here with their goals, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them going to go away without hitting their goals. So that's why I just think this stage of 144 kilometres, it's not been overly difficult, overly fast, and I think the last certainly 20 kilometres will be a little bit more frantic.
I think so. Another swooping motorway for you to appreciate. Oh, I think we're at the airport, which is why we're getting the vista here. Supported this race has been for many editions by Turkish Airlines, who we have flown with ourselves, of course, and very nice airline it is too. Don't worry, we're not on freebies, but yeah, lovely. And right, what do you think? Besiktas? Hey, it's Besiktas! Good guess. Besiktas and Galatasaray are very how can I put this, passionate opponents. Which one was it Graham Souness managed? Was it Galatasaray?
Galatasaray, I think, when he went out into the centre circle.
Of this Besiktas with the flag of Galatasaray, an enormous flag, like the sort of one you'd have on the top of a building. And he planted it after they'd won in the middle of the centre spot. And it's gone down as a famous act of crowd incitement. Oh, and look, they've had to show you Galatasaray straight away, as it's known as the Graham Souness stand, is just over on the left-hand side. Yes, passions run high, and particularly on match day, where it is a derby match. I think it possibly rivals the Old Firm in Glasgow, Brian, for passion and just about every other emotion that they generate.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's known that the Rangers and Celtic game in Glasgow is one of the most atmospheric games there is in football, but I think the Turks will say somewhat different.
Yeah, it's certainly run close here. That's the watering system to keep the grass where it should be. Oh, and I think we're going to see the final of our stadium, Fenerbahce. There we are. In fact, I've got a feeling it was at Fenerbahce, not at Besiktas, that the Galatasaray manager planted his flag. But nonetheless, 3 massive clubs. So you're never that far away from a derby match, are you?
No, not at all. 3 big football teams here in Istanbul, but Istanbul is vast. It's a vast city.
It is. Many, many millions of inhabitants, and could be a nation all on its own, quite frankly. So yes, I'm not sure how they decided who to go first, middle and last there in that order, but I imagine it probably tells you which team our director supports. Or do you think they drew lots?
Well, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. Whether they save the best till last, or whether they show the best first.
Or indeed the meat in the sandwich. You could say this as an excuse to any of the fans. There we are. Why we're talking about pacifying football fans on a day like this, I've no idea. But anyway, we are being welcomed into town, and indeed the crowds are here. In fact, this, I believe, is our ferry drop-off for our hydrofoil. You go over the double bridge here. Do you remember, Brian? And then you sit down with Josie B and have a light afternoon snack before you're heading off to the hotel.
Yes, nice to see actually the locals coming out and supporting the race. They know it's been coming, and there's so many millions of people. We've been in kind of highways and seen very little. We've seen some beauty shots, some nice tourist towns and things like that. One of my favourite places, Fethiye, but yeah, we're into a massive city, and it's nice to see people at the side of the road now.
32 Ks, they've got 1 minute and 12, and they are within the sights, to use that term, of those who are hunting them down behind. And quite frankly, on an arrow straight road such as this, there's no hiding place, Brian. You just basically in your mind got to get on the rollers, haven't you?
Yes, they've started to up the tempo in front, and certainly the race is on, and now that they can see people at the side of the road, and we're heading into kind of downtown Istanbul now, that the race is a little bit more focused, and especially when we get closer to the finish, and everybody will start to see the kilometres start to tick down now.
You know, even in places such as this, if you just go, I don't know, 50 metres away from the side of the road, you find these little oases, coffee and tea houses. To me, Turkish coffee is matched by the flower tea. Faisy will tell us, I'm sure, what it is. The little, is it orange blossom? Faisy, tell me. This gorgeous tea or lemon blossom, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it tastes amazing and super refreshing. It comes in a little glass cup. You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, just lovely. Anyway, so much to appreciate in this land, not least the tea. 1 minute and 8. I'm actually getting a bit I'm getting a little bit not a little unexcited. It's going to be a heck of a finish this today. I hope I said that the right way around. I am excited about our finale today because it always draws out the emotions, and when you come to the end of any race, which we're about to here in Istanbul, there's almost a sense of sadness about it occasionally, because we're always made so welcome here in Turkey. So when we get to the market square, I said it before, all hell will break loose, and I think it's going to be for the last 5k. So we're 25k away from our out-and-out action, and it looks to me like they're in a holding pattern at the moment. They know these guys are pushing on, they know they're within range. If they really turned on the taps, they could catch them within 3k, but for the time being it's 1:06, Brian.
Yeah, and a lot of people might be asking that question: why don't they catch them? Why are they allowing them to have that freedom? It just means that if they were to up the tempo, it's harder to work to ride faster. So you're wasting that energy that you could obviously use further down the line in the stage. But if you do catch the breakaway, then other people get excited, and the race will come alive and very difficult to control. So it's just controlling. There's 3 riders at the front, one for UAE, one for Trek Segafredo in the red and black with the white helmet, and one for Bora Hansgrohe in the black with the green helmet. And these 3 riders have been pretty much riding all day, although there's a lot of their teammates just behind, but they've been riding all day to hold these 4 riders within 2 minutes. They brought it back a little bit now to just over 1 minute, and they'll be happy with that situation. So 3 riders riding, which saves their teammates to kind of help out as the race starts to get a little bit more faster and hectic in the last 10 kilometres.
1:03. Jasmine flower tea. 29.1 then. We're going to take ourselves a brief commercial break. Then we will be back, I hope, for the an uninterrupted run to the finale. We'll be waterside before you know it, and indeed then you're going to see some of the amazing buildings and constructs and districts of Istanbul itself, the old town in the centre. Well, they've done a good job, our friends up front, but I'm afraid it's to nothing. They've been checking their power meters and having a little chit-chat about how they're going to make this approach today. And it's going to be steadily. Every time they've upped the tempo, it's been matched by those behind them, I'm afraid to say, for them. And for now, they're being held on a long leash. It is very much like that, isn't it? 1:02. So we'll take our final commercial break, and then we'll be back with the run for home and the end, the climax of the Tour of Turkey. Back in a moment. It's livening up. They're arguing though about the chase and work rate, and as a result it's allowed these guys off the leash just ever so slightly. Gap's gone up by around about 16 seconds because UAE are not happy about being overly burdened. Looks like they're trying to call the traffic out of the gap at the moment, despite the fact that it's just slightly expanded. So they're also telling the camera bike not to guide these guys and offer them up overly too much assistance, but the camera bike's staying put just for the time being, and it really is starting to stretch. Well, they would have had half a minute before you know it here. Well, that just shows you the lack of will behind. You'll forgive us if we repeat ourselves when we welcome back our entire Eurosport family here. 26 kilometres to go, and the chase has become a little bit disorganised. In fact, UAE are upset that they're doing all of the work, and there's only 2 representatives there, and from Bora Hansgrohe and indeed from Trek Segafredo. And essentially what they've said is, look, today's going to be a sprint day, so if you want to catch these guys and enjoy the possibility of taking a victory, you're going to have to do some work. We're not going to be anyone's fool, and I know we've got the leader's jersey, but do some work, for goodness sake. Well, it looks like they finally have agreed on that, but bit of a standoff in the chase, Brian. It went out to 1:25. The clock's coming back, ebbing and flowing around about that marker at the moment, but it's allowed the break a little bit more room.
Sometimes that happens. Is when the peloton starts to ride harder at the front, the gap comes down, and what they're trying to do is try and provoke the riders in front, whether they're going to start riding harder or not. And by doing that, sometimes maybe not towards the pointy end, the final part of the stage, but they'll do it probably within a stage to try and kind of tire them out for later on in the stage, just to kind of test them. But I think the peloton's starting to ride harder into Istanbul now. Has sparked a reaction from the four in front, and we've seen the four in front starting to chat with each other. They knew that if they want to stand any chance of staying away towards the finish now, that they have to start riding a little bit harder, and that's why the gap is slightly going up now, because the three riders at the front of the peloton have been riding all day. They're starting to get a little bit tired themselves. They've been asked to up the tempo a little bit. You can see just the body mannerisms of the riders at the front. They're trying to get as much shelter from the rider in front as possible. So the pace is on purely because the four riders are trying to make a race of it now.
Ben Fato is being brought back, as you saw. He's clearly had a brief technical, possibly a puncture. He was runner-up on stage 1, fourth on stage 2. I think he's got designs on doing well today, and they were trying to get him back, where Androdi Zydemek. These guys are holding station at the moment, 24 kilometres to go, and they're going to be out of sight as they dip down in one of the nicer districts here of just the outskirts, just sailing in. They'll be out of sight now for the first time in a while. These guys are going to come up to the rise and then wonder where on earth they've gone. And so, yeah, just a modicum of urgency back instilled back in this group. They couldn't decide on who was going to be doing as much work as was going to be taking on the main body of the work here. And UAE have picked it up yet again. Here are those river buses that run here the full length of the Bosphorus, or indeed back and forth across it. It's a lovely way to get around, actually. If you are thinking of visiting Istanbul, then don't think about it too long. It's well worth a visit. It's absolutely glorious place to see and witness, and in fact you'll get an extraordinarily warm welcome, as we have every time we visit it. So we are just sailing in towards the old town. Now this is the cut where they'll be coming up and heading up to the great mosque, the Blue Mosque, and indeed the Hagia Sophia, which is the old cathedral as it was when it was Constantinople. Now, of course, the Hagia Sophia Mosque as well. It's a spectacular finish, and I hope we see the best of it. Don't just stick with the highway here. It's a great race. It's well organised, but frankly, the pictures have not really shown the best of the locales, which are well worth it. I don't think you've had. We didn't see Ephesus, which is just. It's almost criminal that we didn't see that, but nonetheless, let's hope that we see the best of Istanbul, because there's a lot to see here, Brian.
Yeah, a lot to see. You can spend days and days in Istanbul and you won't see everything, but definitely the race is on. The riders in the breakaway are now calling for bottles. The bar will close in a couple of kilometres' time at 20 kilometres to go, so this is the last opportunity for them. They're just starting to head round this kind of headland, and they will follow the Bosphorus in the left-hand side. They'll pass the bottom of the climb. They'll do a U-turn at about 16 kilometres to go. They'll start heading back the other side to do a loop back to the bottom of the climb, where the second time of passage they'll turn right and go up towards the finishing line.
So you will see it with about 16.3 Ks to go. So this, apart from anything else, is going to be a good preview, if you like, for everybody. So they'll sail round this historical peninsula. They'll go by that turn where we'll go up to the old town. You'll see the gate, and then you will hook back. In fact, we're way off it, about 5 kilometres away from the gate, but you saw one of the other older gates there as well on the right-hand side. So this will be the first time I'm asking. You see the ancient walls here. This is a truly historical city, and indeed for the 53rd incarnation of the tour of Turkey, we are of course visiting Istanbul. I think there was once when we didn't, but nonetheless. 21 k's to go, and we're waterside, as you can see, with the parkland here. This is at the Horsa Pazea park. They will take a gentle right-hander heading south. You'll see plenty more of the water vessels here, and then in about 4 kilometers time, a little bit more than that, they will pass by the turn, but not take it. They will do a hairpin, then head back again, only to return and indeed go through the gateway. Real pace now, and being matched out front. Everyone's getting serious, Brian.
Yeah, we anticipated that as soon as we get in towards Istanbul, start heading towards the, a couple of these kind of pinch points, we'll start to see the race ramping up. And there's a case of about 30 kilometers to go. The riders in the breakaway thought, look, we need to start upping the tempo now. We want to try and stay away as much as possible into this stage. Anything can happen, but unfortunately there's 3 teams at the front of the peloton trying to bring back these 4 riders. These 4 riders went on the attack at kilometre 0 pretty much, and I've stayed away pretty much all day, just been held out there, but they want to try and hold off the peloton, but I don't think it's going to be possible for them today.
No, I don't think so either. There's 3 very determined teams. Bora Hansgrohe are greedy. They want Sam Bennett to get 5 out of 6. The man who won the one that Bennett didn't win is Ulissi, who is the leader. That was the big climbing day up to Selçuk. And right now, you can see we're getting busy and towards the centre. These are the mosques that dot the right-hand side of your picture at the moment aren't even the more spectacular ones. It really is a remarkable city, and the crowds are out in force on a beautiful sunny day yet again. Not quite as hot as it has been, but still at 28 Celsius. That's jacket weather for the locals here. It would be very much t-shirt weather for Brian, mind you. So is minus 28. 1 minute and 14 then. They've got an advantage, and the horns blowing here to get people out of the road, and that's been a familiar problem, to be honest. We've had that in the past, not necessarily in Istanbul, but I'm just hoping we don't get any loose dogs here as well. 90.2 to go. Minute 15, it's holding solid. They're doing a good job of staying away, the men out front. They're going to double back, and the hares will see the hounds coming back at them.
Yeah, they certainly will, and it's just controlling now at the front of the peloton for Herculots and UE Trek Segafredo. So they're just setting a very good tempo, but these 4 riders of Atale, Stoich, Deruet and Simeon are putting up a good fight. Don't think it's going to be enough, but they're certainly fighting till the end.
Just top right-hand side of your screen, you're just disappearing, is the Hagia Sophia. The Blue Mosque is also up there, but with more minarets and taller minarets and the rest of it. They had a minaret battle, so to speak, battle between the builders, it seems. A minute and 11 is the gap. It's holding, you know, with 18.5 to go. I wonder when they're going to start believing. After the switchback, I think the chase is going to be very, very much motivated. We will be passing the gateway to our climb. You can see the elevated land that they've got to get up here. And in fact, the steepest section is 7% on the approach, so that's going to be busy at that point, as if it isn't right now. UAE mixed in here with Trek and Bora, the 3 principal teams. But you know, we haven't really spoken about Riccardo Minali, Andre Zeitz as well, and of course Jesper Hansen of Astana Pro. They're hovering, they're keeping the pressure on UAE because Hansen is second here. There we are, we've got a stray dog. I told you, you've got to watch out for these beasts. He's having his own run. Let's hope he doesn't cross over, start trying to nip at ankles. I knew we'd get one, Brian, and so it has proven, and I think he's being bid-oned away at the moment. He needs a bike. I think he got the message, didn't he?
Yeah, a rider just threw the bead on there just to try and frighten it, and obviously had no effect whatsoever. But
he did. He backed off a bit. He's going for a bone now.
I think he was just a bit tired there. But you just see a bit of a grimace now from Herculots at the front. The UE and Trek Segafredo still willing to help. But these 4 riders, you can just see a bit more animation now. They're all in one line. They're all trying hard. It's still going to be very difficult. We're just over 1 minute to go. But they have to believe, and you can just see they're all working together. Nobody's shirking any of the workload at all.
No, they're doing a great job. We're cutting around this little headland right now. We're nearly at our turning point, Brian, as it will be.
Yes, it won't be far now. The riders will swing up towards the right the next time up, but we've still got a dog leg to come, and the final sprint of the day, which comes with 14 kilometres to go. And I don't think they'll be too worried about that, but you can just see the shoulders are starting to rock a little bit. Another team comes to the front to help out the chase, and yeah, this is starting to get busy.
Yeah, Balletti will be the maybe Pedazzo, maybe both of them for Wilier Triestina. They all believe that they can do it here. Cairo Royale showed the way a couple of years ago when Mark Cavendish was jumped essentially on this final climb. Kept getting a great finish. He actually always performed extraordinarily well in Turkey. It was a place he enjoyed riding as well, and you never know, we might see Cav and indeed more World Tour teams other than the 4 that have joined us for this one. Only 13 teams involved. Somebody was saying they seem to disappear on some of the wide open highways. Yeah, but it leaves a lot of options as well. There's a bit more road space towards the end, especially on a sprint, of which we will have. 16.3 to go, and so our breakaway have just passed by the gateway, which they will take, and now they are heading for the hairpin turnaround. And as you can see, some motorbikes and race cars are already coming that way. Sorry, missed that, but the turn, that is. They've seen it, however, clocked that, and we're going to go round this hoop. And
that's a turn on the right.
There we are. So next time by, they'll take that right, but the little lollipop in the road is just ahead. In fact, I thought the turn was a little bit earlier than that, but there we are. So the cameras didn't exactly dwell on it for us, unfortunately, but here is your loop. And so, Brian, with just under 16 to go, they're going to make a turn, and then they're going to see who's after them.
Yep, and you know, the race is on. There's more teams coming towards the front now to help out the chase. They want to bring back these 4 riders, but these 4 riders have enjoyed much of the day in front of the peloton. Okay, between 1 and 2 minutes, but they'll see their pursuers on the left-hand side soon.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in about 30 seconds after the turn. And there it is. Working out, it's geometry. Quick look over, a few cheesy grins from those at the back, knowing that these guys have done an awful lot of work, and they've got some more to do as well. Just checking over his shoulder there, Mohamed Atalay sees the camera there and then gets his head back down again and working. He knows he has to. Patrick Stoisch, the Pole from CCC Sprandi, 5th in the Nationals, by the way, as a youngster in the road race, the 23-year-old. And in Poland, that is big news. Thomas Duruet of Veron Classic, who's looked extremely strong out there, and Paolo Simeon of Bardiani, who've been busy in this race. They're one of the other teams that have been almost a constant in the break. But good news for the Turkish team. They have secured with Onur Balkan the Turkish Beauty Sprints jersey. The King of the Mountains jersey has gone to Mirko Maestri. He led that competition by 2 points, but his nearest rival to him, Celano of Cairo Royale, couldn't get in the breakaway, and indeed duke it out for the final climb of this race, which was duly taken by the breakaway. And so that means that Mirko Maestri is our King of the Mountains winner. Points hardly likely to be anyone other than Sam Bennett, provided he finishes. It may well get rough out there, but he's proven that he can duke it out with the best, especially when it's a bit of a skirmish. So Bennett is up for 5 stage wins if he can deny Toons, who is hyper motivated. And the UAE Team Emirates, who've done a lot of protecting work out here, and some of the smaller teams that have an option sprint-wise are now starting to work as well, including Wilier for Manuel Belletti. And the gap's come down to 45 seconds, but with 14.1 to go, these guys may have a little bit of belief that it could be them. Let's see, we've got an intermediate sprint. It's of no consequence. They are just playing a much longer game here. You may well see, if I had to guess, Mohamed Atalay come through and maybe just nick it just so they can get on the front of the newspapers tomorrow along with his team. And indeed, no, they just sail through. And now it's time to engage with the remainder of the day and the last of this race. And they do so. Liveliest of all seems to be Derouet. Every time he comes to the front, there's a change in pace. Yeah, they're sharing the duties and also sharing the fluids as well at the front. And weren't too happy about it, dropping that bottle. But yeah, the full focus, they want to try and stay away as long as possible. They're clearing out all the traffic between the breakaway and the peloton at the front. The input from Wheeler Tristina has brought it down to 43 seconds, but 4 teams now riding at the front of the peloton. They'll be coming to that drop Vidon in about 5 seconds. So let's just hope it doesn't make a nuisance of itself. If somebody goes down because of it, and there'll be words. It was an accidental drop, by the way. It wasn't anything sinister. 43 seconds then, with 12 Ks to go. A little bit less than that right now. They're going to have to work to get these guys, because the guys are working. Yeah, certainly are. But there's still some firepower in the peloton that they can call on behind from teammates. Archbold is bringing his mullet to the fore, hanging as it does like a dodgy piece of roadkill out the back of his helmet. Thanks to Paul Bennett for that. But yes, Shane Archbold is getting himself into position to guide the Bullet Mullet, to guide Sam Bennett, who may well be tempted to go and join Shane Archbold at Aqua Blue next year. We'll see. He's certainly got a record that is drawing many an eyebrow upwards. 42 seconds they're holding with 11.6 to go. This is a fantastic push by these guys, and I suggest it's because the efforts of Derouet, who seems to have more in the tank than the other members of this break. Yeah, they're pushing hard to try and stay away as much as possible, still holding out at 42 seconds, just over 11 kilometres ago. The next U-turn will be at 8.5 kilometres ago. And then they'll go back on the other side of the roads and try and hang on as much as possible. But I don't think it will be possible today, although they're making a very good fight of it. There's 4 teams riding on the front, and there's only kind of 1 rider from each team, and 3 of those teams have already been riding pretty much the whole day today. So I still think there's some efforts from some of the other teammates will come up, and unfortunately for the breakaway, they'll be brought back in the final few kilometres. You know, Brian, it's the last chance for some teams who've been pretty anonymous to actually go loud. Gazprom haven't done terribly much, because Alexander Porsov, he didn't start stage 2 after a tumble on 1, and that really was all eggs in a basket that was then broken. Nikolai Trusov may well stand tall for them. Arslanov has been busy on the climbs. He's a good guide for Trusov. Do you think someone like Orkan or Prades, maybe Trusov, we spoke about Consoni, could get a steal today? I think Consoni, it really depends on UAE. They have to obviously protect Alesi, but if Alesi unleashes his power at the bottom of this climb and takes Consoni with him, there's possibilities there for UAE. They're riding towards the front, have been out of trouble pretty much most of the day. But for sure, the confidence in Ahmet Orkan is high at the moment after finishing a very close second yesterday, and he'll be another rider that will push and shove to get a good position into this final climb. It's short, it's sharp, and it's all about positioning. If you get yourself into the top 10-12 riders, then for sure you're in with a chance. Arslanov from Gazprom, you know, he could get a top 5 if he finishes in front of yonder Godoy. They're on the same time at a 30-second deficit, and I think it may well be Arslanov that they're trying to work into a position here, maybe to get a good finish, because it will come to finishing order between he and Godoy of Wilier Triestina, and it may well be that they're thinking deeper into this than just the sprint. To get 2 men in the top 5 is a handsome thing for Wilier, and they lead the team competition, so they want to be up front. That's the problem you've got, Carlton. It's not just about the stage winning sprinters, it's a GC battle as well. No one wants to lose their spot, and there'll be others thinking of trying to move up in the general classification, so it will be a huge battle into the bottom of this climb. We cannot say it enough.
position is going to be key to this final stage, because you could be losing seconds, you could be gaining seconds, and there's still a stage win up for grabs.
Yeah, I think Oslanov wants a top 5 here, and that's why the men in the darker blue on the right-hand side of your screen, running the centre line for the time being, Gazprom, are working hard here. It's for him, and indeed to try and push him into the top 5. Willier won't like that, which is why you're seeing the blood, coal and gold, the yellow, scarlet and black of their team also working hard. It's Martinez and Godoy, who are very nicely placed overall, and because of that, Willier lead the team competition at the moment by a narrow margin from UAE. Lots to play for then, and Androni with the aforementioned Benfato. I think it's for him today, not Ballerini but Benfato. We'll see. These guys still hold 42 seconds, and the way the road is playing towards them right now, they're about to make the turn and head all the way back down, Brian, on the highway. They'll see them yet again face to face, the chasers. But what will the margin be when they make the turn?
Well, just over 40 seconds by the looks of things. This is the turn coming up now. The 4 riders at the front there. You've got Derouet from Veron Classic, and then we got the Polish rider Stoic of CCC in the orange, and then the Turkish rider Atale. Turkey have had a great presidential tour of Turkey, and at the back you've got Paolo Simeon. As they attack out, it's the same way as we had the run-in the previous time, and we'll go on to the climb with about 1.5 to go, but no waving from the peloton or the riders in front, so they're going as fast as they can.
Derouet did a mighty turn there. He almost led that quartet from the last turn to this, so I think it's his impetus, the Belgian from Veron Classic. The others, if they do make it, will offer him a beer or two, I imagine, by way of thanks. Maybe a chicken leg. 34 seconds then is the gap, and you know, Gazprom have been extremely busy. I'm waiting to see CCC's Brandy, because they've got Stoic up the road, so they've had an excuse. The men in bright orange will work for Jonas Koch and Franciszek Zizder. 33, it's starting to close. 32, it's ticking down right now. 8 kilometers. Brian, it's almost heartbreaking to watch this. They've got about 7.5k. In fact, 6.5k before they make the turn.
The thing is, a lot of the riders at the front of the peloton will know that their race will finish, and as the race swings right up onto the climb into the Old Town, so they'll just give 100% to swing over. Already the Willier Strasrina rider is pulled over. Day done for him. He's done his job, and this will continue. So a lot of these riders know that they don't have to keep this effort going for the whole 7.5 kilometres, that their race will finish in 6 kilometres time when they place their leader possibly at the front as the race swings uphill.
And here come Gazprom working for Oslanov. 7.4 k's from home, so 6, little less than 6 until we make the turn. 28 seconds the gap, and Trek joining Bora at the front. And just look at the aquamarine helmets of Bora with the green points jersey embedded within that group. Sam Bennett's on the radio calling for whatever he wants, and a quick check over the shoulders like, are you sure? Yep. I don't know what he's asked for, but they've responded. They're protecting him. There's riders all around him. There may well be some who carry a grudge from yesterday, and he wants protecting from them. And so a bit like a Roman army tank formation with all the shields up. Right now he's got riders from his team all around him just to make sure he gets a clean entry, at least into the approach. Sam Bennett's working hard, and working himself over, I'm afraid, is Malecki. I think he was actually, this is my guess, he had a puncture and he just did a bunny hop to shorten the course. So basically he's got himself back in at the back of the peloton. That's my guess. 6.5 kilometres to go.
I think he's been trying to move up, and obviously there's no room on the left-hand side, and he's had to bunny hop onto the central reservation. But we'll maybe wait and see that. But Gregory Daniels out the saddle, giving 100%. And all Sam Bennett was trying to do to his teammates was stay at one side of the road, try and control, you know, Sam, keep him towards the front, keep him out of trouble, but don't be drawn into to the front of the peloton.
Yeah, Malecki, no signs of a fall. I think he may well have short course there, we'll see. 5.9 kilometres from home, 23 seconds. Gosh, who'd be in a breakaway, especially when you spend all day, and it really was, Brian, it was from the whistle and the lollipop, wasn't it?
Well, some of these breakaways do succeed. Not often they do, but the last stage here, 4 riders got themselves in the breakaway. They started to race hard with about 30 kilometres ago when the gap was coming down to just over 1 minute. But now it's teeing itself up for a nice spicy finish to this 53rd Presidential Tour of Turkey.
This is going to be fantastic. Watch for Jordi Simon. The Sol Brazil team are now moving into position. I say that, I think it's just he. So he's going to have to go freestyling. 18 seconds, 5.3. So they've got about 3.8 kilometres before they make the turn. I'm afraid they're going to get caught at the very, very last here. Bit of a pinch, nothing serious, but 4 lanes go to 2. And indeed, it will all be essentially down to 1 when we take that turn. Let's describe what we're dealing with, shall we? They start climbing almost immediately when they make the turn off this road. It's 7% at the very beginning. It's the toughest incline that they will have to deal with. However, the technical nature of the approach is the nightmare. Once you actually go underneath the Flamme Rouge, there's a 90-degree turn there. There still are 1, 2, 3, 4 to take before you actually get to the line within the last kilometre, and it doesn't really unwind until the last 150. Brian, it's a difficult thing to master.
Very difficult. It's all about positioning. As we see Simeon now attacking the breakaway, they've only got a matter of about 10 seconds. But that's why we've seen at the front of the peloton, the teams coming up in order. They want to position their leader. A dog on the road on the left-hand side may cause some problems here, though.
Yeah, well, he was probably the dog that was running the other way earlier on. He loves cycling. Well, we said that pooches can be a problem, and thankfully he's just managed to extricate himself, although he's still trying to keep up. Atalay is not keeping up. The Turkish national team rider has been in the break, has now gone, and the dog being beat at and stayed clear. Said we might have some problems with the canines, and so it has proven. Derouet looks over his shoulder. He's done more work, I think, than anyone else in the breakaway, certainly to hold them off, or hold off the pack for as long as possible. Stoisch is also going to get taken here, along with Paolo Simeon of Bardiani. All credit to them, but this was always going to be about the approach. And guess who? CCC Sprandi are here in numbers. The Tangerine Dream, or maybe a nightmare by the time we get to our turn. And we're nearly there, Brian.
Yeah, we are. We get Trek Segafredo on the left-hand side, moving up Astana, and the turquoise is the peloton are now sweeping up the breakaway now. I'm just trying to see where the green jersey of Bennett, he's following. He's not following his own teammates, he's actually following Trek Segafredo. Very difficult to control, but CCC pushing hard, but it's Koledan for Trek Segafredo, but they're actually helping Sam Bennett here as well.
Yeah, they are. Checking out for William Triestina, doing a lot of driving work here. On behalf of his team. They want to get that team competition wrapped up, but also Manuel Belletti. Don't be surprised if it is they. We're nearly there at our turn. So they will take this right-hander, the first of all a sequence of 90-degree turns. The first one is perhaps the most important, which is why they're racing right now. And look at the positioning of Sam Bennett. Here comes the king of the mountains jersey as well. Diego Ulissi not that far behind. He's just being mobbed by Astana at the moment, so almost disappearing. There's the blue moss that we'll be heading up to.
Oh, crash, big crash.
And a big one as well, dead centre, and I'm afraid Brazil's been taken out of this. That's Simon who has gone, and it's left about 20 or 30 riders who have got away with this, got away scot-free, and in fact that's the end of the approach for these guys, I'm afraid. And what a shame for South Brazil, who really had hopes there. That was Jordi Simon, I believe. Meanwhile, they push on. UAE guiding Ulissi to a decent place. This is going to be a phenomenal push by him. don't count out Ulissi for to take the stage today. Consoni, I think, is still within that group, but it's what, 20 riders that are going to contest it. It's catch up for everybody else, and this was will have hobbled a few, I'm afraid. Those who still remain out within this group have got a terrific chance. And so the approach, 1.5 kilometers to go. Here it comes then. And so those out front are going to be duking it out for the victory. And Ulissi is there, so is Sam Bennett. Didn't see where the Tones was. I believe he will have been, but it might be catch up for some of them. And all of a sudden, bang, they hit this 7%. And here's your grind. You've got to work hard here. And Sam Bennett's doing exactly that. What a battle.
Yeah, Towns had to take it on, and he takes it on from the front. He's trying to hurt Sam Bennett, but Sam Bennett is up for this. Perlucki is also there, and unfortunately Towns is taking Sam Bennett with him, and Perlucki is just behind. He looks behind, he eases up, and we're over the pretty much worst of the climb now.
Yep, there's the 1%, sorry, the one to go, the Flamme Rouge, and they take this little jink. Turns itself into a more focused 90-degree turn. At that point, a left-hander. There's another couple of lefts to take before two rights, and now they're starting to cat and mouse. He looks behind and sees that Sam Bennett gives him a big grin and says, I've got Perlucki here, what are you doing? And Ed Turns knows that he may as well just follow the wheel, but they can do the old 1-2 on him right now. Poor old Turns as they take a couple more here. There's another of these 90-degrees. The next one is the last of the left-handers of this race. Two right-handers still to take. And here we are. We're in this square right now. It's a beautiful place to be, but they're starting to close upon them. They can't cat and mouse too much, otherwise they may well get caught out. And that's precisely what's happening right now. There's others believe, and Androni with Benfato, I think it is, likewise believe that they've got a chance here. Ballerini, I beg your pardon. So here we are. Sam Bennett on the front. When's he going to go for this? I think he may well offer up Perlucki a little bit of a chance. Perlucki comes to the front, starts to change the pace right now. He'll drive into this. Two right-handers to take. Here comes the first. They're in very short order. Thinking about it. Oh, Jinx in the inside. Nice. Oh, and he's gone down. Sam Bennett's into the barriers. Turns is now going to be the favourite, has he? Perlucki's got to run. Perlucki's going to stretch his legs. Bennett's on the deck. He is okay, thank goodness, by the looks of things. But a skittery surface has claimed him. Let's get back to the front. He's fine. And Turns is going to take one. Here he is, round Perlucki, and he can't believe it. At last, he says, I've tried so hard, and finally I have got one. Not the way he would have wanted to win it, however. Perlucki comes home in second place in the rest of the chase here. What drama here on the final day. Sam Bennett will pick himself up. Not bowed, but maybe bruised after what has been a great race for him. 4 stage wins, but not today. That is Edward Turns. What a finish.
Yeah, probably a finish that it's going to be disappointing for many people because of the crashes. The crash at the bottom. Everybody will be getting the same time, I think, so no worries in the overall. But certainly for the stage win, I don't think Trek Segafredo would want to win in this way with Sam Bennett crashing out there, but I think they'll take it. And they've been so close. They put everything in. Edward Towns done the right thing. He hit the bottom of the climb and he attacked. He couldn't get rid of Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett was propped on the front with Towns. Perlucki came through to help out, but unfortunately Sam Bennett just crashing out in that corner.
There's our champion, Diego Ulissi. Thumbs up from him. Managed to stay clean. Wow. Does this mean that Turns has managed to steal the green jersey at the very last? Wow. No pointing for Sam Bennett here means he loses the green jersey despite having won 4 stages here on the Tour of Turkey. That will be a disappointment to him.
Yeah, big disappointment. You don't really want to lose it like this. He just slid out, and not only losing the opportunity to win a 5th stage, but losing that green jersey. Just watching it here, just slipping out, and Towns had to really kick back there. Great piece of bike handling. Perlucki here turns round. He was on the limit. He comes round, sees that Towns is on the wheel, and Towns has an easy win in the end. But he put himself in the right place at the right time. But unfortunately, just a slide out there in the last corner for Sam Bennett will lose him that green jersey, and obviously the opportunity to go for the stage win.
Well, Edward Turns, take nothing away from him. He did everything right to keep himself in a decent position. The bike handling skills at the very last, just as Bennett lost it, right in front of him. There was almost a crossover of wheels. He did knock it right back, may have even just dabbed the brakes, but I think it was just a shimmy that kept him clean and kept the momentum. And he delivered for Trek, and after all the hard work, he's paid back his teammates, and you saw him falling into their arms by way of thanks at the end of what was a very dramatic and, in fact, bruising approach here in Istanbul. Congratulations, there we are, smiles. Sam Bennett knew that he did a great job in this race. 4 stage wins, you can't take it away from him, but Turns was always at hand. 3rd on day 1, 2nd on day 2, 2nd on day 3, 4th on day 5, and now a winner on day 6. It means he takes the green jersey after Sam Bennett, I'm afraid, just got out of shape at the very last. Here is that the sequence of turns. They announced themselves to the double right, and you will see Sam Bennett. I think we're going to see the helicopter shot of him coming down, or is it going to switch to the heads up again?
It was Ulisse at the front, the race leader, that was at the front trying to bring these 3 riders back, and then Gavazzi went for Androni. We go down the first corner here, and at this stage, Sam Bennett is sitting there. He's got Palucci behind. He actually calls Palucci to come to the front there. He just eases up. He sees Ed Towns on the wheel. He calls Palucci up, and at this stage, you were thinking there's only going to be one winner here, and that's Sam Bennett. And Towns actually comes up onto the wheel of Palucci. Sam Bennett is in 3rd place, but this is the move here. Dives bombs up the inside, bang, down he goes. And maybe if he hadn't made that manoeuvre there, he could have possibly stayed up, but he wanted to be first into that last corner there.
He did. We actually called him into that corner using the hoardings, and it was basically to upset the run and the line of Turns. But in the end, he only upset himself, and down he went. Turns gets the victory he's been hunting for so long in this race. And well deserved by him. Good boy. Nice to see. Ed Turns decides what he wants for sustenance here, but he's got what he has been hunting for so long. Jelson Pantano just up to give him a big hug. Pantano's season now drawing to a close, and in fact for many, what a way to have ended it. It's a great race, the Tour of Turkey. I think it's found a good home in the calendar at this time of year. Let's see if it sticks here, shall we? Edward Turns wins the day ahead of Palucci, Gavazzi, Pantano. Turns his teammate coming home in 4th place ahead of Ballerini. Diego Ulisse 6th. We said he'd get a top 10 today just to make sure that he took the title. And indeed he has done so. And with all those United Arab Emirates riders up towards the 4, I wonder if Belletti's position has just saved it, the team competition, for Willier. That's going to be very, very close. And in fact, there is the Blue Mosque, absolutely beautiful. We have had a change of at the top, and UAE will take the team title as well, Brian.
I think everybody will be given the same time because of the crash at the bottom. So I don't think they can split any of the peloton up there. Obviously, Towns winning it by 2 seconds, but I think with the crash, it will be completely the same as before. But Sam Bennett, I think, making a little bit of a mistake, kind of dived up the inside of Towns, trying to be onto the wheel of Palucci, and unfortunately just kind of overcooked it a little bit.
He did, and it's just washing over him here as to the impact of what's just happened. Yeah, more than a hit, I'm afraid. He's lost the green jersey, which is a real shame. So Willier holding on for that team competition because of the incidents, beg your pardon. So, yeah. Good work by them. They actually worked hard today, actually, as well, towards the end. You've got to be at the front. We said it, Brian. In fact, we actually said you've got to be in the top 10 going into the sequence of corners if you're going to have a chance, and that's the way it proved to be. Yeah. There was quite a gap further back, but everything was mastered by Turns today. He remained unflustered. He had a cool head about him, and he's got the reward, I think. He'd have liked, I'm sure, to go head-to-head with Sam Bennett, but nonetheless, I think Bennett effectively took himself out of it.
Yeah, very much looked like that, and you have to put yourself in that position. Trek put Edward Towns in that position. He attacked from the bottom of the climb. Unfortunately, he took with him the green jersey of Sam Bennett and Palucci, and just a moment's maybe lack of concentration there, and Sam Bennett wanted to be in front of Tynes for that final corner, took him out. And I know he doesn't want to finish a race losing the green jersey and losing the opportunity for another stage. I think he'll be happy in the end for Edward Tynes, who's battled out the Tour of Turkey. He'll be happy enough. We'll be seeing the pictures afterwards. He'll be happy, and he congratulated him. But I think Sam Bennett has to come away from this race more than happy with 4 stage wins anyway.
And we've been more than happy to have your company throughout what's been an amazing season here on Eurosport. We've brought you more cycling than you'll find anywhere else on any station on the planet. It's your home of cycling. It feels like that.
Eddie Toons, Looney Tunes. All week you've been saying, look, I came out of the Vuelta climbing well, but I've just come off my sprint a bit. This stage was made for you, this finish.
Yeah, it was perfect. Actually, I expected it a little bit harder, the last climb. The team did a super great job, like they did all the week. They put me there really in the front, and I had a talk with David Hunter on Twitter. He's called Cycling Mole, and he said, if you're a legend, you go from the bottom. So I was repeating this in my head the whole day, and I saw the moment we turned on, and Ulissi was doubting, and I say, okay, I just go full from the bottom, and we had a good gap, and yeah, it was really nice from Sam Bennett that he wanted to take a pull also. Then he passed me the last corner inside, and I felt he was going really too fast. He crashed right in front of me. I had to brake full, get out of my pedal, get into my pedal again, but then I could go to, I think, Pelucchi, his wheel, get the slipstream, and I had really a lot of power left in my legs. And I'm super happy. It's my last day riding for Trek Segafredo. I'm really thankful of the opportunities I've got from the team. I had a hard period after my crash in the Tour last year, and they always supported me, and I came back, I think, to a higher level, and I think there's no better way to thank the team than with a victory like this.
Absolutely, and Edward, we all know you for being smiling, joking, happy, all the time, positive. But this week, being that close and never quite getting there, it came good today. But how hard was it to pick yourself up?
Actually, it was okay. The whole week I was quite okay. I knew Bennett was faster on the sprint. But after yesterday, we did a mistake in the final 200 meters, and I was super disappointed. So actually yesterday evening and this morning, I wasn't the most pleasant guy to be with.
I can't believe that for a second.
But I think now this has changed, and I think I really have to thank the team a lot, and we can have a good party tonight.
Wonderful, enjoy that party. Edward Toons, Stage 6 winner.
Terrific. And don't forget, we ride on ourselves. We have the track season starting, and in fact the European Track Championships. It'll be myself and Tony Gibb back in your good company on Thursday evening, so please join us for that. And then of course we've got the UCI Gala. We'll have the London 6 as well, beginning for you on Tuesday the 24th. And there's yet more to come as well with Cycling World Cups, other 6-day action as well. Just because we've finished the road season, it doesn't mean the cycling stops on your home of cycling. Good race, good winner today, and a good champion in Ulissi. Predictable, but nonetheless he had to deliver it, and he did. Yeah,
Ulissi came in as the favourite, and this final stage, it was all about positioning, and this man decided that, you know, as we were kind of speculating, he can't wait for the sprint. He has going to take it on. Went on the climb, unfortunately took Bennett and Pelucchi with him, but Bennett just making that mistake, and Tynes coming away with the win that he's been wanting for the start of this race.
Here's our champion.
Hai vinto il Giro di Turchia. Eri in avanti al piede dell'ultima salita.
Well, congratulations.
Diego, you were at the front towards the foot of the final climb.
Good old Matt.
Sì, i miei compagni hanno fatto un grande lavoro anche oggi. Era importantissimo prendere l'ultimo strappo davanti per non correre, insomma, pericoli inutili, non perdere secondi. E niente, ho speso anche qualcosa proprio di mia iniziativa, proprio per non rischiare nulla, poi la strada era abbastanza viscida, c'era un po' di sanpietrini, quindi sono veramente contento di questa splendida vittoria.
Yes, I didn't want to take any risks. It was important to be up the front towards the start of that final climb. My teammates did a great work for me today, as they have done every day. It was slippery, there were small cobbles, and I didn't want to run the risk of losing seconds uselessly, and I'm very, very happy with the way that today's stage went. And Diego, you are now officially the winner of the Presidential Tour of Turkey. What's it been like for you? How do you feel now? Ufficialmente sei il vincitore di questo Giro di Turchia. Come ti senti? Come è stata questa settimana per te?
Ma è stata una settimana molto bella e insomma, sono venuto qua proprio per cercare la vittoria nella classifica generale e insomma riuscirci insomma, era difficilissimo, però abbiamo condotto veramente una stupenda settimana con i compagni e niente, ringrazio tutta la squadra in generale, insomma, abbiamo chiuso l'anno in bellezza.
We came here with this goal of winning the Giro di Turchia, the Presidential Tour of Turkey. We've achieved that. It wasn't at all easy, and I have to thank the team and everyone around me for helping me take this wonderful winner. Diego, last question, ultima domanda. Are you tired? Sei stanco?
Sì, molto stanco. La stagione è stata lunga e impegnativa. Questo finale di stagione è molto intenso. In pratica dal Tour de France non ho mai mollato proprio per cercare di sfruttare la condizione tutto il finale di stagione. Adesso ho il meritato riposo.
Bravo, thank you very much, Diego Ulissi, grazie. Yes, I'm tired. It's been a very difficult end to the season. I really haven't stopped since the Tour de France. I did everything I could to make the most of the good form that came out of it, and now we've won this race, and I'm very happy.
And so are we. Thanks to Matt Rendell for asking the questions and doing the translation on our behalf. And so, Brian, end of the road season. It's time to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll see you in the new year. Let's just check on how it finished, shall we? Diego Ulissi wins the Tour of Turkey by a margin of just 12 seconds. Jesper Hansen with Masdana from Androni in third place. Good work.